Okay, we're getting started. Hey, Josh. Where are you? Round people up. Stop talking. Pat, get people in. Get people in. Richard, we have to go sit down, man. All right, no more food. Bars closing. All right, there's a lot of seat up front. Please come on up. Where's the clicker? And my beer.
Kevin Domber, good to meet you.
I'm Sugata.
Yeah, good to meet you. You were at our dinner,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I don't think
I
we
met you there
but
briefly.
yeah.
Good to meet you. Okay, people, we will start. Okay, the count is about 70 in, so we'll get started. We're expecting possibly another 20 or so. So please come on up. Adish, come on up. There's seats over here. Ted, you're supposed to round people up.
Doing a very good job, huh?
No. Just get a seat. All right, evening everybody. My name is Sugata Sanyal. I'm a founder and CEO of a company called Zinfi. We do enterprise software, but that's not what we're here for. So I will not talk about myself. We have an amazing agenda today. Thank you all for coming. We're expecting around 80 to 90 people. Last time I heard there's about 70 in, so we'll possibly get 10 or 15 more people. And let me see where the clicker is. Let me get the clicker. Thank you, Christine. So we are co-hosting this event with two other amazing friends of mine. Jesse, if you would please come on up. And then Rohan, who is trying to do something in the back. Yeah, so Jesse actually held an event about 6 weeks ago in March. It was a pretty amazing event, and that's where I met Rohan.
What's up?
So Rohan, I always feel shorter when I next.
What about me?
Sort of okay. But no, so a little bit of, I think we're going to, have three basic things to cover. We have two panels. One of them Jesse will facilitate. Another one is I will facilitate. And then we have an application launch that we're pulling together, but also go through a little bit of the history. So both of you will come up in a few minutes. So I'll have a couple of slides to go through. So I just talked about Rohan and Jesse. I will give to Rohan to cover a little bit about Innovate Bay.
Absolutely. First of all, it's too quiet in here. How's everybody doing? Okay, that was good. I was going to tell you to do it again, but that was actually good. Hello, Rohan Brown, Managing Director of Innovate Bay. Innovate Bay is a startup incubator affiliated with San Francisco Bay University. We focus on pre-seed companies that are in the frontier technology space. So if you know any founders building in IoT, blockchain, AI, cybersecurity, sustainable logistics, we have applications open right now. And what we're trying to do, along with AI Collective and East Bay founders, is try to build a startup, a robust startup ecosystem in the East Bay. All the activity happens in SF, Peninsula. We need to start drumming up some activity in the East Bay. So as I mentioned, our cohort is open right now for 2. We just finished our demo day during Fremont Tech Week, which is an annual civic event now recognized by the city of Fremont, and we'll be continuing to do these types of programmings to liven up the community. We do have a co-working space, around 6,000 square feet of space. We are the first co-working space recognized in Fremont, as well as the first incubator. If you know any entrepreneurs looking for co-working space, looking to get entrenched in our community, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be walking around. You can't miss me. Last thing, we have some upcoming events. We are taking our founders who have finished this first cohort on a tour throughout the Bay and introducing them to Capital. We'll be starting in Fremont, going to Oakland, SF, Palo Alto, and then ending in San Jose. San Jose is open to the public, so if you're in the South Bay, you're interested in seeing our founders pitch live, I would advocate to join us there. We have a pitch night happening July 3rd at Free Will Brewery. Just a fun gathering, trying to, again, build up the community here in Fremont. And then the last thing I'll mention is we have a boot camp. Now, if you're at the ideation or prototype stage, family and friends, we have programming, and this time around we are actually funding the best go-to-market strategy that comes out of that boot camp up to $1,000. So if you have any founders that are at that early stage, we want to work with them. And last thing, we do marketing very, very well. I advise all of you to follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. You'll see all of our stuff on there, and you will not be disappointed. That's it. Thank you.
Jesse?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jessie Chen. I'm chapter lead for the AI Collective in the Tri Valley. My team and I are so excited to be here tonight co-hosting this event with East Bay Founders and Innovate Bay here at San Francisco Bay University. Thank you so much for having us. Well, a little bit about the AI Collective. Oops. We are a nonprofit organization bringing people together through events, forums, workshops, hackathons, and such to shape the future of AI together. We are a global community with over 250,000 members worldwide. I believe now we have over 150 chapters in over 50 countries. And our Tri Valley chapter is one of the many. A little bit about us. We have been hosting events since last year in August, and we have a little over 2,000 members now. We care a lot about creating a space that make people feel a sense of a belonging. So at our events, we actually welcome every single curious community members who may or not be involved actively building AI, but they can still come, learn, and stay involved. And our mission, in addition to contributing to growing a vibrant, innovative system here in the East Bay, we also have a focus on uplifting both the women and AI in tech and AI. And tonight, my goal for you is that don't just listen to great panels, but also meet great people. Go meet people who can help move your idea, move your company, or move your career forward. And with that, I want to welcome everyone to join the AI Collective community. This QR code will take you directly to our Tri Valley chapter's website. You can check out our upcoming events, past events, photo galleries, and our team. We have about 15 people on the team now, and a lot of them, there are some of them here tonight. Wave your hands. I hope you guys get to meet them. And yeah, join our next event. So there's a QR code here. Our next event, I believe, is on either June 6th or 7th. Location TBD, my team is still working through the details, but you wouldn't want to miss this event because it's a super exciting hackathon with Anthropic. It's going to be on a weekend, so make sure you RSVP now. You don't want to have that FOMO. All right, that's all from me. Thank you so much. I hope all of you have a great time, and thanks to everyone helping to build this East Bay ecosystem together.
Thanks, Jesse. All right, so I'm going to go through a couple of slides, well, a little more than a couple, give you a sense of, I think I'm going back, sorry. So this is our agenda. So the first panel is essentially focused on, we have several very interesting and very focused also at the same time incubators in East Bay. And we have Yolanda from iGate Hub. Then, of course, Innovate Bay, Rohan is here. And then Jesse will talk about, SBDC is also here, right? She's not here yet. Okay, so there's another guest on the panel one, talk about basically incubators, what's happening on East Bay. And then we'll go through sort of an economic trend update from City National Bank where things are going. We have one of their chief economists here to present, Paul Singer. And then we have a break, a little bit of a break. And then after that, we put together 2 teams. One is a pitch team. Roughly there's about 130 people. Founders came in wanting to pitch. So we're trying to put an infrastructure together. So we'll talk about how we do that. Then we're also forming a capital team so that we can pull in banks and venture debt and angels and VCs together in a little more structured way to kind of do the matchmaking. And then we'll have an amazing panel on go-to-market, talking about both direct and ecosystem-led market growth. And then the East Bay app team will walk you through the app that we're launching, trying to connect the community. And the goal behind the app is between the events, kind of the connections drop. And what we're really trying to do, use the app as a bridge, bring people together. And speaking of the connections also, we have started a bunch of user groups, which we'll cover briefly. That QR code, if you scan, it should take you to a WhatsApp group, which we're kind of soft launching today. There are a bunch of user groups in there that you can go sign up. And the entire purpose behind that is, while the app will live online, everybody has WhatsApp on their phone. People may not save the app on their phone, but eventually we'll connect both of those. And WhatsApp, as you know, when you chat in WhatsApp, things kind of disappear. And our goal is to, on the app, to live above and beyond just a string of conversations. The app will provide a lot more depth and breadth, which the app team will cover. So it's more of a bridge to where we want to go with the app, but please connect. And if you don't have WhatsApp, hopefully you can download. I will take a few minutes to create the context of why we created East Bay Founders. It pretty much started with a pain point. There are several of us who were driving from East Bay to go to either San Francisco or come to San Jose or the other side, and would be sitting in traffic for an hour and a half. And so the idea was, okay, we'll just throw an event, and who showed up? In our first event, 45 people showed up, and 30 of them are founders. And so this is our 5th event, and it keeps on getting bigger. And there's a lot of people have come forward to volunteer. So what we decided to do is put a nonprofit together to put some structure behind this so that we can operate that as a way to curate sort of the matchmaking between founders and investors and mentors and others together, which you're going to hear about. So there are 5 people, can you please come up, that we started. This is a completely volunteer-led team, and our expectation is all of these pictures will get replaced by somebody else because we're getting this thing started. So Ted is next to me. Ted is running event, and he will have a chance to come, say a few things. And then Vishnu is also a founder, and he started his 2nd company. Josh is also a founder, and where is Pat? Pat's getting food over there. And he is working with our sponsors and community partners. So please, during the break, connect with us, talk to us, give us your ideas. Our whole focus is to really, focus on founders. Did you guys want to say anything? Anybody?
I'm talking later, so.
Josh is talking. He's going to cover the user group. Pat will talk about partnership and sponsorship, and Ed is here for event. Vishnu is also going to talk about the pitch team. So all of us have a slides together. So I'll just continue. You guys can go back. So that's kind of how we started. A little bit of background, and this really surprised us as we started to dig data into what is East Bay, and we wanted to also define for ourselves how far do we go, how far we don't go. If we go to San Jose, are we crossing the border? Or what is the limit of East Bay? And why should we focus? So what I'm going to walk you through, just to put it in perspective, where we are carving out our focus. So California, of course, is the 4th largest economy in the world, right? And give or take, back and forth with India, it switches. When you look at the Northern California region, it's about 1/3 of California, about 1.5 trillion. And each of these corridors, East Bay Corridor, Silicon Valley and Peninsula, San Francisco, is about half a trillion dollars in size. And when you look at the counties, Alameda County, of course, is the biggest county. And none of these were aware of the sizes of these numbers. But most importantly, as you start going through, there are 8 major cities, and of course there are other cities. There are major names, whether universities or companies or other sort of financial institutions that we have all sort of heard of, but we couldn't put a band around it saying, that's in East Bay, right? And when you start digging into what in those sectors are, and you see a very diverse set of techs, ag tech, biotech, clean tech, nanotech, across the spectrum. And they're large established companies. And of course, whenever you have large established companies, people leave because they can't get their ideas through in those companies, and they start companies. So you have macro systems and micro systems around each of these cities across the spectrum, which is not necessarily the case when you look at the other side of the bay. So we have this unique opportunity to focus on, especially now this AI wave is going through, to pull a community together that focuses on not only just creating jobs and drives innovation, but just be together, have fun together, learn from each other, and it's an amazing opportunity. So there's another amazing stat I found from Berkeley and other places, and I never knew this, that Berkeley has created one of the largest number of founders over the years, right? So several of you I know here, and I know several people are part of the Skydeck program and working with Skydeck directly. And Nathan from Skydeck also, he's going to be part of our pitch team that's going to help us to structure how we take pitches and sort them through. So what we're trying to do is focus on this $500 billion economy, and we haven't informally started to outreach with the universities, but there's several people reached out to us. We really want to put a structure together, and the whole goal and the focus is going to be on the founders. And the journey that we're focusing on essentially is from an ideation stage through an incubation stage, that's where we're an incubator, to roughly, Series A kind of a level. And because beyond that, most of the companies have enough infrastructure and people around them to help them grow, right? So we're sort of in the early stage. So most of the programs that you're seeing and the functions we're putting together, so that early stages of making sure it's the hardest phase. That doesn't mean it gets easy later on, but that's the highest mortality phase also. So we want to just increase the success rate. We are now focusing on outcomes. Our goal is next year we want to see 10 transactions happen, anywhere from $100,000 to a few $1 million level, and that we can come back and say, we did something that was worthwhile, pulling people together. And speaking of that transactions, we predominantly focus on these 4 C's, which is bringing capital. You will meet Jason Saido, who is from N47 Partners. He has stepped in. Yolanda has introduced us to Jason. Jason is on Yolanda's board. So, and Jason will put together a capital team so we can really formalize the process. We're a nonprofit. We won't have a fund. We're not FINRA certified. We have nothing to do with actual funding, but we want to pull a platform together where can people find each other. We're also deeply focused on competencies. You're going to see 6 user groups Josh will talk about that we have curated. We started with 12. We'll collapse it down to 6 based on founders' feedback. And then, of course, there are a large set of companies here, as you know, our customers, that we're going to try to bring them in panel. And some of them you'll see today on the panel today. And in the cities, I saw Sridhar here somewhere back there from San Ramon, but we're trying to engage with the cities in a structured way also. So that's kind of our agenda. With that, I am essentially going to hand it over to Jesse to start with the first panel.
All right, let's welcome our panelists. Yolanda, Rohan. I'm not sure if Nancy is here. Are you here, Nancy? Maybe she's still stuck in traffic.
Clap one time if you're here, Nancy.
Nancy, okay. Thank you. Should we sit next to each other?
You just kick that chair over and have us through.
Should we sit here? Come closer. Sit next to us. Get in the frame. Well, do you want to be Nancy? Anyone would like to be Nancy? Well, her spirit is here. Maybe she'll show up, right, when the traffic dies down. Well, hello, it's me again. Jessie Chen, chapter lead for the AI Collective Tri-Valley region. I talked a little bit about the AI Collective earlier. I'm very honored to be moderating this panel today. Before we kick off, please allow me to do a very quick self-intro, and then we'll introduce Yolanda and Rohan. So many of you know me as the chapter lead for the Tri-Valley region, but you probably don't know that I am also a co-founder and a design principal at a company called CG, a design agency where we work with early stage startups on product strategy, user research, market research, and user experience design to help founders turn their ideas into products that are investable and that people actually understand. And today I'm particularly excited to host this panel because I believe that one of the biggest challenges founders face today is no longer just building. With AI, we can build faster than ever, right? So now the harder questions are, what should we be building? And who is it for? And how to turn that idea into a real business. So today we're going to talk about all of that through incubation resources. And with that, let's give a round of applause to our panelists, Yolanda and Rohan. Let's start with a round of intro. Would you like to go first, Yolanda?
Sure. So I'm Yolanda Finchenko. I'm the executive director of iGate. iGate is a little bit unusual for an incubator in the sense that we are actually an economic development nonprofit. We are a 501c3. We are founded and funded by the cities in the Tri-Valley, so the cities of Livermore, Pleasanton, Dublin, the town of Danville, Alameda County Board of Supervisors, and Lawrence Livermore and Sandia National Labs to create a vibrant economy in the Tri-Valley by helping science-based startups succeed. And the rationale behind that was based essentially, so we've been around since 2010. We've helped over 60 companies start and scale and seen them raise over $450 million. This doesn't count going IPO. So our probably most famous success story is the company AEYE, which went IPO as a unicorn, I think in 2019, and was located at that time in the city of Dublin and then moved to the city of Pleasanton. So we've been helping startups for a while. One of the things the reasons we do that is based on data from the Kauffman Foundation for Entrepreneurship that shows the highest job growth rate comes from companies 6 years or younger, so that's a flywheel, points to having a flywheel of small companies all the time. And the highest quality jobs as measured by income, essentially, is measured by salaries across the board, whether it's skilled and apprentice labor, STEM fields, or business services, comes from science-based startups. So to support this mission, we have 3 pillars. One is a physical space. You can see from this beautiful space how helpful it is to have a space for people to gather, form community, ideate. Our space does more than that. We also offer co-working lab and office space. We're the only hard tech and life sciences incubator in the Tri-Valley, and we are located in the city of Livermore. So we support, just like SF Innovation, SFA Innovation does, we support through space, we support through community, we support through training of early stage founders. Our goal is to give them affordable space to let them de-risk their technology in the lab so that they can scale and succeed in the Tri-Valley. We are actually measured by jobs created and supported. We do not take equity. And this is one of the most important parts of our mission, serving early stage founders. In order to serve founders of all stages, we have an MOU with Las Positas College to connect them to a talent pipeline and to connect students who are early in their educational career who often lack generational professional networks to the startups and their founders and the networks that get built around them. And then finally, we have, just like this, we create an ecosystem by hosting events. Startup Tri-Valley is our event hosting organization, and we focus on creating ecosystems in AI, life sciences, women's health, and frontier technology like energy technology through events and through our podcast, the Startup Tri-Valley podcast.
Wow, what a resume. You're doing so many amazing things all at once. Would you like to go?
Sure. Once again, hello, how you doing? Rohan Brown, Managing Director of Innovate Bay. As I mentioned before, we work with pre-seed companies and we are university affiliated. I came to the Bay Area about a year ago. I'm originally from Connecticut. Anybody been to Connecticut? Raise your hand. I am so sorry for you. Connecticut's so boring. That's why I'm here. And nobody wants to deal with that snow. But when I first came here, I realized that there's a huge opportunity in the East Bay, right? All of these manufacturing, advanced manufacturing companies, all within a 92 square mile space of Fremont. Fremont is the manufacturing hub of the West Coast. Seagate, Tesla, Lam Research, Supermicro, the list goes on. So what was missing? An innovation sandbox. And there was no ESOs, no one really championing early stage venture when it came to the Fremont area or East Bay until, of course, we bumped into these great, wonderful people in the room. So what we are trying to do collectively, no pun intended, is really build a robust startup ecosystem in the East Bay. There's a bunch of human capital here. There's nowhere for them to tinker, nowhere for them to build. So with Innovate Bay, we are starting in Fremont, but we are hoping to really provide access and remove barriers to all entrepreneurs that are in the East Bay by investing. We invest personally, Safe Notes at the early stage. We'll be raising a fund within the next year, around $20 million, so we can raise larger size checks. We have that co-working space, around 6,000 square feet. 4,700 is for office space, conference. We have our own podcast. But the back, we're hoping to turn into an AI lab, and we might have a mini data center in there. But we're just trying to really activate the community that is here in Fremont. We work directly with the city. We just ran Fremont Tech Week. Now is an annual civic event. We'll be doing that at the end of April every single year. And these are just small tidbits, really, to just activate the community. There's a bunch of talent here. AI is here. The barrier to entry and start your own company has significantly declined. So we need to start activating more people. And that's what we do at Innovate Bay.
Amazing. Thank you both for the introduction. Well, I think that already gives the audience a pretty helpful map of the available resources in the East Bay. And you both have already talked about what your organization focuses on and who you serve. Can you also talk about what founders or companies are you most excited to support?
So I can tell you, we hope we support all founders, but the cities, we have a strategy that has been developed in cooperation with our cities because we do want companies that start with us to be able to stay with us, which means we have to look at the talent shed as well as the available commercial real estate. So every city has identified, based on the talent shed, the existing companies in their city, areas that they want to become known for. So the city of Dublin has really identified becoming an AI hub, and that's partly because of the talent that lives there and partly because they have an enormous amount of Class A office space that's suitable for companies to scale. The city of Pleasanton has identified that they want to be known as the life sciences hub in the Tri-Valley, and so we, of course, want to encourage that. They already, again, they have a strong talent shed in the areas of life sciences tools, of diagnostics, and medical technology. And so what that means is, again, there's a lot of actually turnkey controlled engineer environments that are ready for companies to just move in and scale, which is absolutely critical for a company to be able to succeed. In the city of Livermore, of course, we have the two national labs as in Inger Lawrence Livermore National Labs and Sandia National Labs. While they are incredibly innovative and can create some very high impact startups, which you see from Quantalife, which went on, that founding team went on to found tons and tons of life sciences companies, including 10x Genomics in Pleasanton. But also you have Inertia, which is a fusion company. So the city is really focused there, again, on trying to harness the ecosystem that's already been built in supply chain that can support hard tech, but specifically in energy technology and frontier technologies that sit at the forefront of climate and energy. And then, of course, we have pulled out women's health for a couple of reasons. One, it's an unmet need that constitutes a huge economic opportunity, both from an investment standpoint.
Nete! I'm sorry.
She made it.
Nancy, hi. Would you like to stay here, please?
Oh no, we're glad you're here. So I am answering the question which startups we focus on, and I am at the last category, I promise, which is women's health. Women's health is important from an economic development standpoint. It has been characterized by some women's health venture firms as a Silicon Valley moment, where if you invest now, you're going to see a huge, huge return. And we have 4 hospital systems. We have Stanford Healthcare Tri-Valley, we have Kaiser Permanente, and we have John Muir and Sutter Health, all there. And Stanford Healthcare Tri-Valley in particular has really leaned into our community and to supporting what we're doing at iGate. So those are the companies that we are trying to encourage, and the founders that we are most prepared to support all the way from start to finish, start to scale. So.
Would you like to? Okay, Nancy, well, I'm glad the traffic still brought you here. Would you like to do a quick intro?
Yes. I'm Nancy Mango, the Executive Director of East Bay Small Business Development Center. I'm also a professor at Cal State East Bay. East Bay SBDC provides resources for all entrepreneurs. We help them to start, to grow, and to thrive. And we provide one-on-one advising services for small businesses and entrepreneurs. And we also provide access to funding, whether that be startup funding from angels and VCs, and SBA loans or other different types of loans for startups. And we also provide a lot of trainings and workshops. The main reason I'm here is I want to share with you that I host it's called the Startup World Cup, East Bay Regional. So Startup World Cup is a worldwide event. It happens in 150 countries. So many startups go compete at this competition. So the best of each region gets to compete at the grand finale. Last year was October, and this year will be in November. And the winner of the grand finale gets $1 million in investment prize. And I want to share with you, I'm hosting the East Bay Regional for the Startup World Cup. And last year is my first year to host that event. And we had wonderful startups competing in this event. And first of all, our top winner from the East Bay Regional went to the grand finale. And guess what? They won the grand finale, representing the best of East Bay. And they won the $1 million last year from the investment prize. So I'm very proud of our East Bay companies. I think we have lots of talent, lots of great entrepreneurs. So we also awarded 4 winners last year. So the top one is Corshell Technologies. They are a battery manufacturing company for cars. And they beat out, and their technology even supersedes the Tesla technology because they can bypass the rare earth problem and use silicon. And that would solve a lot of problems. So that was a very successful entry. We also have another company, and this company is amazing, and they're actually using the DNA. They can store the DNA in room temperature. Because many of the bioproducts, you either have to refrigerate it under perfect condition. If there's outage, if there's flood, if there's any weather condition, these bioproducts are completely destroyed. And this company actually was able to store all the bioproducts in room temperature. You can put it on the shelf. And so that's another company that won part of the East Bay Regional Award. The third company, they actually probably a truck size nuclear power, and that they can generate 30 megawatts of power, enough to power a data center. Wow, so you actually have a truck, no more than one trailer truck size, and that can power your entire center. So the fourth company is a medical device company, and they create this medical device. It's nanoware, and you can just put it on your, for anyone, you can actually put it on your body, and they can take 82 bioscience, different 82 types of bioscience. And with these science, it can help you to prevent heart attack, to prevent all kinds of problems. So these were the 4 winners from last year's East Bay Regional.
Amazing.
They're fantastic companies.
Wow.
Yeah. And one more thing is, I just learned that in 2024, the Startup World Cup winner is also our East Bay SBDC client. It's called Earthgrade, and they make tunnel technologies. So, and they also won the $1 million. So both years come from the East Bay. So I hope this year will be one of you. And
Yes.
yeah, applying.
Definitely talk to Nancy after this panel and ask her about the program. And hopefully some of you will be joining the Startup Cup World.
Startup World Cup.
Oh, Startup World Cup. Thanks. Rohan, would you like to add to the question earlier?
If I recall the question, I believe it was, who do we serve? So we serve anywhere between ideation all the way to seed stage founders. What we try to do is think of ourselves as an innovation engine, right? We are activating the community. So the way I believe when it comes to the innovation economy, no matter who you are, where you're starting, right, you should be able to have access to programming or access to an opportunity to take your idea or prototype and bring it to market. So what we're doing right now is starting at the pre-seed stage and then working backwards. So our flagship program is our 12-week sprint. We invest, we run a 6-week educational week-to-week programming, and then the second half of that 6 months residency, we actively get our founders in front of strategic partners, customers, investors, and as much exposure as possible. Prior to that, you got to think, if I have an idea or a prototype, the number one thing is, do I have actually something I can put in the market and get feedback from? What's my go-to-market strategy? And then you need some capital to actually vet your experiment. So we're doing the founder boot camp to lead up to the 12-week sprint. So if you are at that early stage, you can come in 2 days of intensive programming, and then who has the top most convincing go-to-market strategy, again, as I mentioned before, we'll fund that go-to-market strategy up to $1,000. So what I believe with that is you should be able to get your first paying customer with $1,000, and we just want to vet the ideas that these entrepreneurs have in order to get to market. Down the road, once we figure out this early part of the pipeline, that's when we got to get these larger checks through the door. So we'll raise that $20 million fund so we can start deploying capital around 100 to 250K. So that's how we plan on building our pipeline in Fremont, and hopefully that can expand throughout the East Bay.
Nice. So Rohan already talked about a little bit about what that journey looks like once you enter the incubator, right? Yolanda, can you also touch on that? What about your incubator? What does that journey look like for a startup?
Sure. So the journey looks like we do have an application process that we run on a rolling basis to get space in the incubator. And very often we talk to companies who are in ideation. We run a cohort-based training program called Build Before You Pitch that is for members of our incubator, and also applicants from outside our incubator can apply. We are hopefully running our third cohort later this year, and I don't think we have it up yet, but we will have an application process. Actually, we will even have an interest form And I can share that with the team at AI Collective to share with everyone if you are interested. Certainly, like I said, it's an application process. We want to keep it fairly small enough that people can get value out of it. Jason Cito, who's here, is one of our Daybreak Labs advisors and instructors and can also answer questions. It's basically a 8-week training program with a demo day. And the goal here, since we have such technical founders, very often first-time founders, is to teach them how to build their company before they build their pitch deck. The pitch deck is a result of a lot of hard work and thinking through your company and your business plan and finding partnerships, lining up funding, all kinds of things that happens before you pitch to any investor. Once they've gone through that, they do have a demo day where we invite investors, and of course the companies continue to grow. Our typical company takes, depending on the difficulty, the technical difficulty of their technology, if they are a hard tech company or life sciences company, can incubate with us anywhere from a few months to a couple of years. And it all just depends really usually on the maturity of the technology that they're developing.
Nice. Nancy, would you like to add a little bit about how people can apply to your program?
At the East Bay SBDC, actually, we help any entrepreneurs that come to us. But we will focus on the Startup World Cup, particularly the startup preparation starting in June. So we provide several aspects. We provide, first of all, the workshops to help the startups to preparing the pitch decks and know what is required, how to build partnership, and how to perfect your pitch, and how to go to market, and all that series of workshops that we provide in a month or two period to help the startup to prepare. And the second aspect is we actually have experienced advisors who focus on helping the tech startup or the startup. So they will provide individual one-on-one advising, particularly when you are looking for funding. We have many advisors that can help the startup to obtain funding. I mentioned that 2024, the Startup World Cup winner is an East Bay SBDC client. That particular client, our advisor helped this client to get $45 million in seed funding. So the first round was $30 million. In the second round, I think a couple years later was 15. So it's all through our efforts. So we provide funding on your model, your business model, go-to-market strategy, how to validate yourself on the market, and how to pitch to angels and VCs. And we'll make connections for you if we see that you're ready to go. So we provide workshops to help. We also provide one-on-one advising. In addition, we provide a competition as a platform to showcase our East Bay entrepreneurs to go on the world stage.
Amazing. I'm so glad to see there's tremendous amount of available resources here in the East Bay for us founders. That's super exciting. Now let's talk about AI. So with the AI, everything are changing so fast, right? Like founders now, they can build a prototype in weeks or even in hours. So I'm curious how that has changed the way you support startups, in particular when it comes to evaluate whether or not the startup is viable, right? So when you talk about the signals, like what are some signals that tell you, ooh, this is the company that I would really love to help, rather than, well, this is just a cool product or demo?
I'm happy to take a stab at that. I think a lot of it comes back to, I think, something tied to the service that all of us are offering, and which is how much attention have they actually given to the business. So the understanding, their understanding of the problem, that they're solving and how it is going to be monetized is probably the strongest signal if the company is going to be viable or not. I do want to back that up a little bit in saying, though, that a very technical founder may struggle with that. And I think that's super normal, and it doesn't mean they will not be successful. So a lot of it has to do what stage of company are you gatekeeping. So we work with some very early stage companies that that spend time, a lot of time pivoting. And if they're pivoting constructively because they're learning from the market what is truly needed and actually do fall in love and become obsessed with the problem, then they will become successful. So I think one other really important piece of it is their flexibility and their ability to learn. So there are some very smart people who are technical founders who either can apply that intelligence to a world where they feel incredibly incompetent and uncomfortable, and the ones who do that with discipline are the ones who succeed. The ones who are the smartest people in the room and are attached to remaining the smartest people in the room will fail. And I think that's probably the biggest signal of success.
Thanks. Nancy, would you like to go?
Yeah. So last year at the Startup World Grand Finale, a lot of the competition and startups are working on AI-related projects. They are using AI to integrate into healthcare, medicine field, pet care, space, and all types of projects. So almost every project involves some kind of AI integration. I also want to share some future for you to consider. So recently, I was approached for a National Science Foundation grant. So first of all, the administration has an AI objective. They want to make all business or public agencies, governments, as well as all workforce, very AI knowledgeable or experienced. So you will see actually a lot of projects pushed out by the administration. So the first one I see is the National Science Foundation, and they are putting out up to $225 million and to create three things. One is a national center collaborator for coordinate all the AI resources. And the second is they are creating a state-level coordinator or hub to organize or to disseminate or to implement all the AI that the state has. In addition, they're going to take the best project and have the Catalyst Award for companies or for organizations to implement this AI. So that's one big initiative from the National Science Foundation that actually came from this AI policy for the country. And another one I was referred to by a congresswoman that she sent me another project is the AI upskills pilot program. So what this is a U.S. Economic Development Administration, EDA, is putting out the request for grant proposals. They would like proposals to focus on different industries, how to use AI to make the workforce in that particular industry really strong, because our country, the national goal right now is really to equip all the industry, all the workforce with AI skills. So I can, based on what I see, the national direction, I can tell you that AI is a big focus for the U.S. in the next several years. And there's a lot of room, if you're working on AI, to play in this area. It's a very good time to do it.
100%. Yeah, Rohan, you probably work with a lot of, have worked with a lot of pre-seed companies already. What about you? Can you share your perspective on
I'm going to share
signals?
a few things, forgive me. And I kind of ramble sometimes, so again, be patient with me. So the first thing I want to just talk about is The theory that we have at Innovate Bay is anything that's purely software-based. B2B SaaS was very popular over the past few years. It's dead. I don't think there's anything defensible against pure software plays, which is why we're focused on frontier technologies and we're doing things that have a hardware component to it. If you're building in the AI infrastructure, that's a whole nother scenario, and we definitely want to talk to you. The next thing I'll talk about is what we look for when it comes to founders for our incubator. First and foremost, I like people that are coachable. I have an athletic background, so if you're not coachable, I don't want to deal with you. I'm just going to be very upfront. You need to be able to be coachable. You don't know everything. I don't know everything. We learn from one another. The next thing is teams. Love teams. If you are 2 to 3, even 4, I'd rather you be in a team than a solopreneur. I know the idea now is I don't need anybody. Agents. You still need people. So we like to work with teams. And the last thing I'll mention is it's really funny because there's different temperature checks between the East Coast, West Coast, and the Midwest when it comes to AI. A lot of Midwest founders, they might be a little salty, if you guys know what that means. They believe we don't need investors anymore. AI will do everything. What do we raise for? We raise so we can do marketing, operations, hire people. Now everyone can do that. The barrier to entry has significantly decreased, which means there's more competition, which means you do need to raise more money just to get that leg up, that distance from your competitors. Sorry for the ramble. Yeah.
Oh, this is great. This inspires me to ask so many more questions. Trying to figure out which one I want to ask first. So how about sorry, do we still have time? 5 more minutes? Okay. Let's talk about, you distracted me, Sugata. But, okay, so let's talk about founders. So funny thing, like we've been talking about AI, right? So I've been web coding myself for the past few weeks, and there's always one question I'm always thinking about, which is, what actually makes my product viable? Like what matters to you the most? Is it, you talked about founders, you talk about Coachable, you talked about having teams. Is it the founders themselves, or is it something else, like the product, the problem, the market, or early traction? Like, if you have to pick one, what is the most, the thing that matters most to you?
I think if they understand how their product will be monetized and they have a financial model that supports their narrative, that makes sense, not that looks good, but one that actually makes sense. When you do the math, AI doesn't just work for them, right? We all can put our phones in AI mode and check their numbers, right? And so I think that when you see that they have done the work to understand the market, the monetization, the pain point, that is a very clear signal. So leading with your technology description is, and over-relying on the beauty of the technology, I think without a clear understanding of the problem it's going to solve and how much people will pay for it and why will they pay for that instead of doing whatever they're doing now. I think another, this is related, but I'm sorry, I'm going to cheat and say another thing, is understanding who their competition is. And I think the most honest and humble founders are probably the ones that will succeed, and they're the ones that understand that your biggest competition is whatever is almost always doing nothing. People have hacked. Nobody sits around with a problem they can't solve. Everyone solves a problem somehow. The question is, how painful is their solution? And I think the founders that understand that they are trying to identify problems where the existing solution is so painful, so expensive, so whatever, that people are going to abandon their existing solution for theirs. I think that's really what you want to see, and a financial model that backs up that there's an actual market. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, financial model, competitors. What about you, Nancy?
Well, if I'm allowed to say, I think the product itself really has to have a big market or tested on the market, and the product and the market actually when we talk to many investors, what they think is really important is your team. Actually, you don't know how much that weighs. The capability, the background, how they can execute the project means a lot to the investors.
Okay. Rohan, would you like to add?
Yeah, so a little bit of piggybacking off of what they said. The two things I really look for is, one, have you done your homework? How well versed are you in this space, in this problem that someone is experiencing? What's the urgency? That's really important. I should be learning something every time I talk to you about your problem. That's what I look for. The second thing is traction. You can't argue with numbers, right? If you're bringing in money, you have customers, you have, some smaller investments, people have already committed to taking money out their pocket and handing it to you. I want to know what you're working on, absolutely. So those are the two things I really hyper-focus on when we work with founders.
Yep. Can we ask one more question, Sagata?
Don't worry about him. Just keep.
Okay, one last question. So, well, as we're all here in the East Bay, right? So I want to wrap this up by talking about the local ecosystem, right? So we know that a lot of the startup narratives is pretty much still centered around San Francisco and Silicon Valley. But here in the East Bay, we actually have a lot of founders. We have a lot of talent, capital, and industry experience. So what are some unique opportunities do you see for founders building here in the East Bay?
I can start on that. Actually, there are a lot of resources available for the East Bay. And first of all, I'm really convinced that East Bay has superior, very dedicated, very strong entrepreneurs.
Yes.
So people like me, I would like to, provide as much opportunity as possible to entrepreneurs, to showcase them, to give them the opportunity. But in addition, there are a lot of infrastructure. I mean, many of the organizations in the East Bay are really trying to help to build that culture, to help nurture the entrepreneurs, to help them to succeed. So at Lawrence Berkeley, we have a Berkeley, I can't remember the name, but they will actually take entrepreneur for a 2-year program. You will be paid for during the two-year period.
It's Activate.
Activate Berkeley. And they're all over the nation too. So they actually apply for a big grant and to help to support the entrepreneurs. So they support that each year they select a cohort and they use a grant to support the entrepreneurs with 2 years compensation so they can focus on working on their project, and they will also have some startup money to get started. And they are located at Lawrence Berkeley Lab. And also, Berkeley has a Berkeley cluster. So the city of Berkeley, in collaboration with other organizations, are also helping the entrepreneurs in the Berkeley area. And we also have Diablo Valley Tech Initiative. That's another initiative that is trying to help. The founders of Costa Yolanda is part of the Tri-Valley and tech initiatives or innovation clubs. So there are quite a few organizations trying to help the founders here. Last year, I was very pleased. I was able to help an entrepreneur to get a $28 million grant from the California Energy Commission to build the California pilot battery manufacturing plant in Hayward. So, and that project itself will help to many more battery companies to get started because they are putting all the infrastructure and equipment, and the entrepreneurs of battery area can come in and build their products in, and will help to provide a lot of the other support, such as business plans, marketing, go-to-market strategy, get funding, and all that.
So thank you for that. And that's the electrochemical foundry, right? Yeah. So that is, a fantastic thing that's coming online. So I think building on what Nancy said, there are already a lot of resources I'm sorry, Jesse, the question is? the
Unique
founders-
opportunities.
Unique opportunities. So there are a few unique opportunities, I think. One in the East Bay is you do have a ton of talent. I think another thing that people often overlook, and particularly, we're in the East Bay, in the Tri-Valley, and then in Livermore, we're really at the outer edge. There's an enormous amount of your talent shed that's coming from the Central Valley that people don't really talk about. And when you locate in the East Bay, you locate in a place that can take advantage of a really wide talent pool. And I think that the thing that we really notice as being the most important thing for many companies is the talent. And you have an enormous number of people who are incredibly skilled at what they do. They may have cut their teeth on one of the companies that's in South San Francisco or Silicon Valley, but they're living in the East Bay and they want to work in the East Bay if they can. Nobody wants, and we used to have a hashtag called, it was hashtag no bridges, no tunnels. Everybody's got that dream. And people, you know, like that ability to not have to cross a bridge, not have to go through a tunnel for an in-person meeting with their team. And I know a lot of work can be done remotely. A lot of teams are actually not only remote for traffic reasons, but they're geographically distributed within the country and around the world. But it is incredibly helpful to take advantage of the fact that people want to live and work locally if they can. And so that presents, I think, a unique opportunity in the sense that especially for a company that's growing, you maybe don't have to have the salary of Google or Meta to attract top talent because people also want quality of life. And so I think that's a really important thing to think about. And then finally, you know, I think another thing that we think about a lot in the Tri-Valley is we have a lot of founders who are at inflection points early to mid-career. And that means they already know their industry really well. So when you have an industry expert coming in to start a company, if you are an industry expert coming in to start a company that has been living a problem, like is immersed in the problem, and finally you're like, this is the moment, I think you found the opportunity. So I think maybe one of the things that people should have is confidence and to plan. Just plan for the investment picture right now is horrible. It is just the worst, especially if you're working in hard tech or life sciences. So plan your runway. Don't be afraid to start because there are a lot of unsolved problems. And if you are early to mid-career and you think you've found it and you've cut your teeth in a company, you know what it's like to be in a business, and you can probably build one.
All right, Rohan.
Just give me 10 more minutes and I got you. It'll be, I'll be quick. All right, so three different things that come to mind. One, timing. Two, the market. Three, the community. Timing is part of, I mean, we've all done startups here. Raise your hand if you're in a startup, worked with a startup. Any, okay, I have to third of the room. Okay, cool. Anyway, when you're trying to be successful, we all know timing is a big part of that, right? And I feel like the timing of the market is extremely important right now. A lot of SaaS-focused investors are moving to the hardware space, considering all the manufacturing that's trying to be onshored, the semiconductors. We're in the East Bay. We're the builders of the East Bay. So the timing is just perfect. The market is just perfect. The last thing I'll say is the community. Look around you. Has this ever happened in the East Bay? Could somebody just tell me, has any event like this happened in the East Bay outside of AI Collective, myself, and Sagata that you've been to?
I mean, the Startup World Cup.
In the Startup World Cup. People in this room, that's what I'm trying to say. Outside of the people in this room, are you know any other ESOs, groups that are hosting these types of events? No, it's us. So the timing, the market, the community is just perfect for the taking, and I will stop right there.
Amazing panel. I love the conversation. We should definitely chat more offline. All right, is it break time, right? Sagata here?
Sagata's trying to kick us off the stage.
We're going to take a quick picture. Please stand up.
Oh, okay.
Take their pictures.
I'll get closer. You have to step one. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so we're cutting into breaks, but we will catch up. We're about a few minutes behind, but thank you. That was a great panel. Thanks again for your time. You know, this is founder's optimism. When I asked both Rohan and Jesse how long it's going to take, they're like, oh, in 20 minutes we'll be done. So we just didn't, you know, count, I guess. But that's great. Thank you. What we're going to do is we're going to have Pat. You want to come up? Is Dimitri there? So Dimitri is a founder of a company called DataPhoenix. He does video streaming on the side. That's not his business. But Dimitri, but Dimitri is putting together, curating a library of deep tech videos, which doesn't actually exist. So Dimitri, did you want to say something quickly? I'll just bring it over here.
Okay, yeah. So DataPhoenix, it's the media. We write about AI industry. We capture different events, and it's in DataPhoenix was born second project which I started several weeks ago together with Sasha. We start to build some automation for small businesses, because we as DataPhoenix small business, we see a lot of problems that we need to, as a small team, cover different operations, different workflows. So today, based on our media, we start a very interesting journey in build agents for small business and give them opportunity to get all this innovation in small business.
Thank you, Dimitri. So we're going to bring up our sponsor. Pat is coordinating with all of our sponsors. As you know, we're completely volunteer driven, and it's community funded. And our budget has been basically beer and pizza so far. And every time I would go to Jesse's event, she will have these curated 7-star experiences, and we'll come back and say, Pat, we got to do something. We got to figure out. So Pat managed to figure out to bring on City National Bank, and you have seen the spread over there. So we're deeply humbled and thankful to City National Bank. But I'm going to have Pat do a quick introduction.
No, I will keep it short. But thank you, Rohan and Jesse, for joining hands with us. This shows the power of coming together as three big, three brands. Really happy to see like 200 registrations today, and we want to make it 1,000, right? That's the aspiration, and even more, right? So, City National Bank, thank you. Over to you guys. But before I leave the stage, how can you help? Please spread the word. Talk to other founders, innovators, VCs who can come, be in the audience, sponsor these events, talk, network, mingle with each other, come out of your own man cave, woman cave, whatever we live in today's world. Okay? Please come, talk to humans, okay? We can do amazing things together. Thank you, guys. Over to these guys.
Thank you, Pat. Well, good evening, everybody. First and foremost, I want to say thank you for the Innovative Bay, San Francisco Bay University, the AI Collective, for allowing us to be a part of this event. We have a couple of bankers here today. I wanted to at least introduce my team. I know a lot of them are kind of hovering, pretending to be caterers today, but I promise you they're bankers. Next slide. You have the clicker, or do you have a clicker? I have a clicker. Oh, you have the clicker? Oh. So quickly, I have Anna Koshal. This is my senior relationship manager at my office in Burlingame. My name is Long Yung. I'm the actual branch manager of the Burlingame office. I have Antonio Cole, my banker, senior relationship banker. Charlotte Tan with our private banking group. She's right there in the pink. Paul Singer, our senior economist. He'll speak in just a second. Yeah, Michael Pierce is our senior financial advisor on stage here. And then Nick Gadiri and Nina Lang, our business banking managers and with our business banking group. So with that in mind, next slide. Quick City National at a glance. So I didn't make this up, okay? I didn't make up the word entrepreneur today, but we are actually founded in 1954 in Beverly Hills by entrepreneurs Alfred Hart and Maltz. We are the largest bank headquartered in Los Angeles, 99 billion in assets. We have a little moniker, Bank of the Stars. Quick little story, we provided about $250,000 to Mr. Frank Sinatra to retrieve his son back in, when his son was kidnapped. Crazy story, grab one of us, we'd love to tell you a little bit more about that. Our footprint, we are a major entertainment hub. We do actually have branches and locations in California, New York, Nevada, Tennessee. As you can see there, they're all major, entertainment hubs. In the Bay Area, we have locations in San Francisco, Burlingame, Palo Alto, Sunnyvale, San Jose, Oakland, Pleasanton, and Walnut Creek. And here in Northern California, you're probably wondering, there's no stars up here. We truly believe our entrepreneurs and small business owners, especially in the tech and silicon, are our superstars up here. So, next slide. What sets us apart? So we are a full-service financial institution built by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. A subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, which is the third largest, safest commercial bank in Northern America. We have the agility of a boutique bank, private bank with global strength of one of North America's largest and safest commercial banks. We provide strategic financial guidance. We move quickly. We build long-term relationships that scale with you and your company. And most importantly, high-touch regional private bank service. So with that in mind, I did bring Mr. Paul Singo today. He is our senior economist. He would like to share a couple of things about what's happening in the world. We do get emails very early from this gentleman at 5 every day. This is where I get my local kind of like economy news and what's going on in the finance world. So here we are, Mr. Paul Singo.
Great, thank you, and thank you very much. They said they needed an economist to speak at the tech area for a tech event, and they said, well, Paul dresses like he worked at IBM in 1965. Let's get him. So that's why I'm here. The story I have on the economy, it's, the United States is the most complex economy in the world. It's the largest economy in the world. And they said, Paul, you got 12 minutes. Tell them everything that you need to know, they need to know. So that's what we're going to do. We'll rush through a bunch of slides, but by and large, it's a very positive story about the economy. Yes, there is an issue with the war in Iran in terms of the fact that the Straits of Hormuz have been cut back. That has a big impact in terms of global energy, making it extraordinarily expensive, and for most of the world, they're dealing with shortages, which is much different than the United States is. We have our own ability to create an awful lot of petroleum. So it is a big deal. Our outlook is positive, and it's based on the fact that the economy has been doing so well for so long, for one. Corporate balance sheets are in great shape. Household balance sheets are even in better shape. And this is part of what's allowing the stock market to rally. The rally of the stock market allows people to think about, well, maybe I should be taking on more risks. And that's what's allowing this whole area to develop so well, because the risk of investing in a new venture is quite high. But the outlook is extremely positive for it. So that's why we see the economy doing much better than what we see going on in the rest of the world. Just to start off with, this is a chart of GDP, which is the broadest measure we have of the economy. The columns represent the quarterly change, and then the dark blue line is the year-over-year change. And Wall Street's expectations are that we'll continue to be seeing growth of around 2% or so. I want to put some context on this. You can see this is what the Fed says is ideal growth, 1.8%. It creates enough jobs, but it doesn't cause inflation to be a problem. We're well above that, and we'll probably continue to be that way. The chart here on the left just shows the dollar value of GDP. And you can see, when you see economic charts, the gray column, those always represent recessionary periods. And the pandemic was quite severe. It was the biggest downturn we had in the economy since the Great Depression. But not only have we recovered from that, we've been continuing to march on pretty much at the same pace the economy was doing for the 5 years before the pandemic, which is very strong. But the chart on the right is the more important one. This shows the impact on the economy and how we've performed since then from the pandemic. The US economy is up 16%. Take a look at the UK. They're up about half that. The UK's economy is very much like ours. It's a well-educated workforce. It's a service-based economy. They had the best of everything, but they voted for Brexit to separate from the European Union. They did so for social reasons, mainly. They didn't do it for economic reasons, because the European Union was their biggest trading partner, and they were exporting high profit margin stuff. intellectual property, legal work, financial work, pharmaceuticals, and they were importing cheap stuff like food, pencils, those sort of things. But they lost that. So that's why their economy has not performed very well. The Eurozone, well, they got hurt a little bit by it, but their central bank has also made a few mistakes along the way. And Japan, 1/4 the pace. Japan's stock market last year just got to the peak it was back in 1989. The S&P back then, I don't know, it was around 600 or so. That lost decade lasted 3 decades. They've got a lot of problems in terms of demographics. They have a lot of problems with their banking system in terms of how they deal with bad loans and stuff. The US economy is doing extraordinarily well. And the main reason for this is the unemployment rate is so low. This got distorted, but the blue line that you see, the horizontal one, that's a range of 4 to 4.5% on the unemployment rate. That's considered full employment. There's always people looking for a job. There's 7.3 million people right now looking for a job. You know, people that are entering the workforce, re-entering the workforce, that have quit a job or got laid off. But it's rare to have an unemployment rate this low for that long. The only other times we've had that was in the early 1950s and the late 1960s. That's when we were at war. We had a draft back then. A lot of young men were not looking for jobs. They were in the military. That's what pushed it down. This time it's because the economy is so strong. And demographics does have something to do with it in terms of the baby boomers starting to retire. The other thing that's helping out the economy is the fact that the federal government is running an enormous budget deficit. They spend $7 trillion a year. They bring in $5 trillion a year. $2 trillion of made-up money will stimulate the economy. That's hard to relate to, so this chart here just shows it as a percent. How much are they spending versus how much are they bringing in? Well, it's 130%. Last 15 years, we've been averaging 140%. Think about your lifestyle if you spent 140% of your income without ever worrying about paying off that debt. I joke that my wife, you know, our living room would be her closet, but I can say that safely. She's 30 miles away, so. But that's what's helping to stimulate the economy. Second, households are quite wealthy. Stock market has rallied significantly, up 133% since the pandemic. That's enormous wealth creation. If you have that in your back pocket and you're feeling comfortable with your wealth, you're more up to spend. And that's the driving force of this economy, is people spending. Because one person's spending is another person's income. It's that simple. It's 70% of GDP. And just to show, put in perspective of how well this economy has done versus the UK, the vertical line that you see there, that's when the Brexit vote took place 10 years ago. The dark blue line is how their currency has changed since then. It's up about 2% or so. Their stock market is up about 60%. Look at the shaded area in the back. That's the S&P 500. Imagine being your same person, but in London. Same sort of job, same sort of salary, same quality of life, and you put same sort of investments. But you'd be investing in the stock market there. You'd be up 60% or so. You have 1/4 the wealth of the American doing the same thing. That's the difference. That's why this economy is so strong, because of the wealth creation. Home prices are up about 50% since the pandemic. Nice if you own a home, detrimental if you're looking to buy one, but that's another issue. And the Fed has been buying bonds from the pandemic, and they own an awful lot. That's helping suppress the yields on them, keeping them relatively low at the long end. But this is the most important part, household leverage. Baby boomers, you can see, they love to leverage up their balance sheet. Right now, we've seen a marked decline. Baby boomers are older, they paid off their mortgages, they don't need the debt that they used to. The younger generation was never big on taking on debt. They wanted to spend their time and money on things like experiences and not goods, but not as leverage. The important part here is twofold. One, you don't have big expenses on a monthly basis. So you can be spending on other things, driving up the economy. And secondly, at some point we will get a recession, but again, you don't have those big monthly payments that are required, so it won't cause you to pull back in terms of your spending. But this is what income has been like since 2020. The 3 spikes on the left-hand side, that's when the government sent out stimulus checks. This is inflation. Inflation is below income. Yes, people complain an awful lot about prices being higher. Egg prices, they're 25% higher than they were beforehand. That's legitimate, but the thing is that they're earning more than that. And so economically speaking, they're better off. But this becomes a behavioral economics thing because they say, well, I'm earning more because I work hard. I'm the one who got the promotion. I'm the one who went and got another job. I'm the one who started the company. But in reality, in terms of economics, on average, Americans have been earning more than what inflation has been. But they're spending even more. And the reason why they're spending more, at first it was people spending the money that they had from the pandemic that they had saved, but now it's the baby boomers that are retired because they're no longer collecting income, that shaded area. They're, liquidating part of their IRAs or their KIOs or whatever it is, and that doesn't count as income. So that's why spending has been so strong. That's where we are, but what's going on now? Well, labor growth isn't as strong as it used to be. It's volatile on a monthly basis. You can see that in the columns, the 6-month average. You can see it got below 0. It is starting to pick up a little bit, and that's relatively good news. You need around 50,000 new hires every month just to keep the unemployment rate low, and we're hovering around that level right now. The problem is the types of jobs. For most of this expansion, they've been the go-go jobs, the things you guys are all doing. Lawyers, people that are being hired because bosses are optimistic about the future. They figure that employee can generate a lot of revenue. Those are called cyclical jobs. They do that when the economy looks good. That's the dark blue. You can see that's not been the case. It's the non-cyclical jobs, the ones that they always hire. Healthcare, government jobs, teachers. This is not an exciting time for the labor market like it had been. On the left-hand side just shows the amount of people that are being laid off. That's at record lows. Although hiring's not going on, firing is not going on either. But the concern right now is, of course, inflation. You can see the little upward movement on the right-hand side. The yellow line is 2%. That's the Fed's target. They haven't been there in 5 years. The war is not going to help them out a little bit. So we'll see inflationary pressures stay high for a while. On the left-hand side just shows the major categories of inflation. Almost all but one is above that 2% level. You can see energy, of course. Gasoline prices on the right, that's 5.02 was the highest. Something happened on that chart. So we're still below what we paid for gasoline following the invasion of Ukraine, but they are still quite high. On the left-hand side, this is what they call the crack spread. It's a technical term for refining. It's the difference between where they buy oil at and where they sell refined products. You can see the profit margin so high. It's obvious. When did gasoline prices start going up? As soon as oil prices went up. The gasoline that you're buying, that was bought months ago, a long time ago. They just took advantage of the situation, price gouging, whatever you want to call it, and that's why this is so high. On the right-hand side just shows the dark blue, the national gasoline price. The light blue shows California. We pay $1.50 a gallon more than the national average. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that our gasoline has to be specially formulated. We don't have as many refineries as we used to. We don't have easy access to oil coming into the state, so it's very, very expensive. But the reason why it's not going to have, this whole energy crisis is not going to have the impact it did in the 70s is we're not as reliant on energy for our economy as we used to be. This chart here, the dark blue line, just shows the percent change in the amount of oil that we use in this country. The yellow shows the economy. And as you can see, we haven't increased the amount of oil much, but the economy has exploded. A couple of things. One, in the 70s and the 80s, cars started to be required to get better gas mileage. Buildings and homes were better insulated, but more importantly, we changed the economy. We weren't a manufacturing economy, we've turned into a service-based economy. Service-based economies don't require as much energy. To air condition this room, to heat this room is nowhere near what a factory would require, especially something like a foundry. So that's why the impact will be quite small on the US economy relative to other economies around the world. But here's the issue. Again, as I said earlier, what drives this economy is the fact that people spend money. That's the driving force. It's 70% of GDP. If you take a look at the top 40th percentile of income earners, they do 80% of the spending. The bottom 40 percentile, less than 10%. So the fact that gasoline prices are higher doesn't have much of an impact for those at the top 40th percentile. They'll continue to spend. What drives their spending probably more than anything else is the stock market. But that's what will keep the economy going, is the fact that we have an awful lot of people that earn enough money that they can afford to absorb the higher prices and keep spending, and it won't alter their life. And that's it. So thank you. I don't know if I did that in 12 minutes, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. All right, we're going to break for a quick break, and we'll try to come back in about 15, 20 minutes because we're running behind. But thank you. So we'll just break. And there's food over there. Please help yourself. We'll be back in about 15 minutes.
So, is this your LinkedIn?
Yes,
Okay. Do you have a thought or something?
I do. I'll give it to you. I'll find you and I'll give
Sure.
it to you.
Thanks,
I think
Linda.
I left my phone plugged in there. They'll definitely find you and give it to you.
Sure. Thank you.
Can we change the banner to City National Bank? Shugato. Shugato.
Sean is here now.
Okay.
He's here. He's talking to Charlotte right now.
Oh, nice.
Is there anything do you want me to take care of anything right now?
Do you want to go?
I mean, I think he wants to go.
Yeah, I know. He wants
I
to
know.
go.
I just told him,
he
I
wants
said,
to
come
take you
inside. I know. I said, come inside and say hi because I think a few people want to meet
Yeah.
you. So I told him to just come in and say hi. But I think
No,
everything
we-
should
we-
be
we
good,
manage.
right?
Now it's
But
a
do you want
matter
us
of-
to come back and help though?
No. We
sure?
manage, yeah. As long as then Antonio is there, we manage.
Okay. And there's the to-go boxes in case anybody wants to take stuff home, right? So I had one too many drinks. I'm feeling a little tipsy. I think I had one. It's free.
But you're not driving, so you're
No.
fine.
Yeah, it's okay. I never do it. So every once in a while, right?
Charlotte. Charlotte.
Well, you are a photographer.
I'm not, but I
Good.
can.
Lucked out.
Just take a picture. Charlotte.
Oh, take a bunch of them. Two is never going to get a good one. Someone blink. We won't say who, but we know who.
Make sure I look good.
Thank you.
Paul, thank you so much for coming. Do you want to get rides?
I think he's talking to somebody.
Oh, sorry.
Hello? 5 more minutes. We're running behind, so we're going to try to catch up. Hello? Josh, do you hear me? Okay. We're going to get started. We're going to get started in 5 minutes, okay? We will get started in 5 minutes.
Great job.
Hi there. How are you?
Great.
Too.
Yeah.
All right. Vishnu. Is Jason here? Okay. So next is Vishnu, and then after that you with that slide.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and how much do you want me to say? Just hello, or
As long as you take, we're just going to do a quick user group thing. Josh will do, and then after that is Vishnu, and then you, and then we do the panel.
No. Then
And Jason, that's it. These slides are all messed up. What? Because the whole thing I was trying to do in Claude, right? What it did is they messed up the slides. But anyway, I learned. Next time it will be better. So, it was just an idea, Vishnu. This thing will grow. We got to get the volunteers organized and delegated and run through.
Volunteers, we just need to have a pitch book again for them. Hey, here's what you need to do.
The place.
Because see,
All right, folks, we're going to get started. Puneet, we need to get back. Hello? Hi there. We're going to get started. Hi there. Good to see you. We're going to get started, Puneet.
Give a shout out to the winery.
What's your name?
Ray Sharma.
Oh, wow. Shanti.
Yeah, Ray Sharma. Okay. He's the one.
Okay. All right, guys, you have an assignment. Round everybody up. Get them up front. Okay. All right, Long. We're going to get everybody up front. Okay, we're getting started. We will get started. Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ted, we got to get started.
40%. Okay.
You cannot hang out and party.
I'm just. Okay. All right. So just round people up. Okay.
Yeah, round people up.
Okay.
Jesse, you got to round people
Let's
up.
go. Next panel.
Everybody's got it. Okay, we're starting. Gus. Yeah, get everybody up front. All right, we're going to talk about the most exciting stuff. User groups. All right, folks. Where is Josh? Okay. Hello, all those people are back there. Yes, please, come on over. Yolanda. Okay, I'm going to hand it to Josh. Josh is going to talk about user groups, the most exciting part of EBF.
People who know me, I do my presentations best when I'm intoxicated, but I am not intoxicated enough today.
Really sorry. Can I see you really quickly? Hey, what are you doing? All the conversations that are happening in the back need to cease. Please come to the front. If I see you talking, I'm going to point you out. Everyone should be moving up to the front here. We have all this space, all these beautiful, comfy chairs. I need all of you to come to the front. Mac, I see you. You look Swayze. I like it. Come to the front. Everybody back there, you can get wine later. Terry, I see you. Come to the front. Everybody, yeah, I like how it's getting quiet. Everybody hears me. Love it. Let's all migrate to the front.
We need more people from Connecticut. That's what we need.
He didn't say he's probably from Greenwich, Connecticut.
All right, folks.
Rohan, are you from Greenwich? Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about the user group. So one thing that East Bay Founders clearly is founders, East Bay. But there's more than just founders in the East Bay, and also domain experts. So the idea of having the user groups is to have sub-domain groups basically getting together and working hard. We have 6 user groups. As you can see, I won't go. Rob is here today. John is here.
Can we get all the user group leads up front, please, just for a second?
Thank you.
They are live people. They're not
Yeah,
bots.
they're true. They're well, who knows?
They're not digital agents.
Where's Rob?
Rob is. I've seen him. Here he is. Okay,
Right
so I
there.
don't know.
Okay.
We'll do the wave. Okay. So as you can see, we're here to basically help you. And it's more, as I said, than just the founders. Clearly, the founders are the critical pieces, but domain experts and competencies that exist in the East Bay need to work together. And these are the different groups on the website, on the East Bay, on the Luma. We have as many dates set in advance as we can. As early as we can, we'll set them up. And what we ask of people to do, sign up, show up, volunteer. If you want to talk about a topic, we'll find a stage for you, right? We cannot do it ourselves. And that's it. Anyone else want to say something or not? Okay, Rob.
Just because with AI, it's never been easier to do a product. Go-to-market is where it's at. So it's the hardest thing to do. It's harder than building products. So join this one.
And we'll talk about go-to-market, right?
Okay. We're all fighting over attention.
I think I disagree, Rob. Building products is, no, I'm just joking. Every part is important. But my goal with this user group, the way we design products, the way we think of products, the role of a software developer, the role of product manager is changing. I run a team of 10 plus product managers at Oracle. For the past 2 years, I've been sort of thinking about how to change the entire process, both on the software development side as well as product management side. And I'm still learning, frankly, right? Things are changing so fast. So I'm hoping that will be some exciting conversation, stimulating intellectual conversations, how to kind of rethink all these roles. So I'm looking forward to participation from all of you guys.
Hey, this is Chandan. I run the customer success user group. So customer experience is changing as we speak. In a few years, it's not going to look like anything that we have seen before. If it's pre-sale, during a sale cycle, post-sale, everything is changing as we see it. And I run a company that does just that, and I'm working from the trenches of customer experience AI. I would love to have you all in this group and share and learn from all of you. Thanks.
Sure. Okay. Well, again, building a product is getting easier and easier. Making sure it's a real product and all the details, and the dots are crossed and the T's are crossed and the dots are, that's harder. And actually making sure you actually have a product you can sell to someone that people can use. We'll talk about that in the product group.
I think we should have a user group for the user group leaders.
Before you get a first dollar from anybody else other than your friends and family, you probably need to have your financials and your models and everything else in place. So I guess I disagree with all of you.
I'm with
if we're going down that route, as the head of business systems, please build products that actually work and we can make sense of them. Yes.
So will we have a systems thinking business group that combines all of you cross-functionally? Because that is very important for the next generation.
So that's a great idea, and I think maybe in one of our next grand meetings.
We can have that, sure. Yeah. But we are out of time, so we need to move to the next one. All right, so can we move to the next two things we wanted to quickly cover? Can we have Vishnu up front, please? Somebody give him a mic, because I want to push the slides from here. You can just pick up the mic from there. Yeah, I have a slide for you.
Can you hear me? Now I can. Awesome. Yeah, so as unlike what Sugata said, the pitch is, and the startup is the most important thing of EBF. So, and unlike everybody else, so I'm going to keep it very, very short. So the QR code is right there. So typically, earlier what we used to have is a demo pitch for about 3 to 4 startups kind of coming in, showcasing their product, and trying to get feedback from you all, and then obviously in terms of how to kind of do a matchmaking between them and the VCs and the seed funders or angels who kind of come and participate. That's what we do. We kind of, we have about 140 people who kind of showed interest, but anybody else, if you, your friends or anybody is interested, you can kind of pretty much ask them to kind of click on the QR code. They will have an intake form that will kind of put them through the process. And where we add value is that we provide them a sense of what it takes to kind of get to the pitch and to present, and also to kind of pitch in front of VCs too. So that's what we provide. So if you, your friends or anybody is interested, reach out to us and we'll kind of help you navigate the journey. And what we're trying to do is get your idea all the way to IPO. And at some point in time, just like companies like Workday or Tekion or Viva and stuff like that, at some point in time, our grand vision is that out of East Bay, there will be one more company that will go IPO, and that will be our success. So thank you so much. Just log in and we'll kind of go from there.
Okay, so the next one, I'm going to hand it to Jason. Jason is going to talk about, we're trying to, at the end of the day, you know, we're kind of in the marriage business. We're trying to get a Match.com going so both sides can meet, right, and live happily ever after. So this is the first half, getting the founders how to pitch. The next half, they got to raise money. So I'm going to hand it to Jason and have him talk about what he's thinking about. And go ahead.
Yep, okay. Hey, everyone. First, big thank you to Rohan, getting us all together and back on track. I pride myself in trying to be that person in these sorts of meetings, and he set a new bar for me to grow to and live to. I appreciate that. So in a couple of months, July 23rd, we're going to have an event like this with 3 separate panels. And what we're striving for is to have something a little different. Obviously, there's a lot of important parts of building a business. Capital is one of them. It's not the only important part. I don't think it's the most important part, but it sometimes is a requirement. We're going to talk a little bit about types of businesses. You know, every business starts as a startup, but not all startups are venture capital backed startups. There's a lot of different types of investors, and this is changing rapidly as the new ways of building businesses are changing rapidly right now. And that's definitely going to change the types of investors and how they operate. And I think that sort of once we've laid the groundwork for some of that, transition to that third session where we try to get some insights and some discussions going about when you transition from founder-led sales to hiring your first salesperson, when you go from selling to your friends and family customers that you knew from your old job to actually going out there and winning a new business. When you go from 20 employees to 100 employees, what are some of the big changes that happen there? And what, if any, do they mean in terms of how you're capitalizing and funding your company? So please take a look at the agenda. Look at the types of panelists we're looking for to hopefully give you some insight into what we want to accomplish. If anyone thinks they could add something from those panelist descriptions, please reach out to Saguta and I, and looking forward to seeing everyone in a couple of months.
Thank you, Jason. And that QR code is for our next event on July 23rd. It'll be right here. Rohan has been very kind to give us the space again. I want to give a shout out to our wine people in the back there, Shanti Wine. So can you guys please, thank you for having us, being here for this. I'm going to get started. We're running behind. Good news is only 15 minutes behind now. So if I can have the next panel up, we're going to, please, Lisa, Tamar, and Rob, please come on up. I'm going to facilitate the next one, and I'm going to try to keep us on time, unlike the other panel. We'll see. We need 4 mics. Do we have 4 mics? Or no, we only have 3. So we'll just have to share. Is that okay?
Sure.
If Alyssa is over here, I think, and then you're in the middle.
I knew there was a secret chart.
Yeah. So unlike the other panel, we did prepare. So we have some questions. No, sorry.
The shade.
We have a lot of discussion about product and technology, and when we look at the founders that have joined, right now there are about 900 members of East Bay Founders, and about 60% of them are founders. And to our surprise, last event, we did a survey asking people about 10 different topics, what they were interested in. Number one thing that came up was go-to-market. And it kind of makes sense, right? When you're building a product, you have to go find customers, and then you have to find routes to market. So we have put together a panel thinking about the full, sort of multiple ways to go to market. One is, of course, direct. A lot of companies do that. Others through partnership, and others through building full ecosystem. So I'm going to have each of the panelists introduce themselves so that I don't butcher their incredible background. But we'll quickly go through. We're going to focus on 4 dimensions of go-to-market in sort of a classic way, even though AI is changing a lot of it. We'll talk about product. What does product really mean from a product market fit wise? We will talk about pricing. A lot of these, to raise investments, you have to really understand what is the customer value you're creating and what part of it you can rightfully capture. Therefore, you can build a valuation model, right? So we'll talk about pricing. We'll absolutely talk about placement, how you go to market, right? If it's a consumer-centric product versus business product, there's different ways to market. And then we'll talk about promotions that, okay, once you figure out, what is your route to market, then how do you drive demand and create a brand for future demand, right? So we'll try to get all of these things done roughly in about 40 minutes. But with that, Alyssa, thank you for being here. I'd love to have you introduce yourself.
Yeah, great. Thank you for having me, and hi everyone. It's been great to this is my first event as part of this community, and really excited to be invited. I'm actually from just down the road in Newark, California, so I'm East Bay born and bred. So really excited to see how this there's this groundswell that has always existed, as we've heard many times. So just excited to be part of the conversation. I am currently the VP of Marketing at a Series B startup called Actively AI. We build persistent and proactive agents for revenue teams. I'll leave it at that. But I have a combined experience of about 12 years in the B2B SaaS space, almost primarily at early stage startups. I was just joking earlier, I keep saying the next job I'm gonna go to a bigger company, but I feel like I'm addicted to the early stage Series A to D and whatever letter of the alphabet. But I really love those kind of fast growth environments. And before that, what I really like to share about myself outside of my experience in technology is that I used to be a competitive professional softball player. I played at Stanford University, I played for Team USA, and more than anything, that has actually defined me as a marketer in technology, because you learn how to scrap and you learn how to just keep pushing through and look for the small wins that keep you going so you find the success on the other side. Yeah, that's me.
Terrific, thank you. Welcome. Tamar?
Hi all, Tamer Osman. I work for this startup called NVIDIA. We're sometimes referenced as the fastest, largest startup that's around. We're still very scrappy. It's not as well put together as you might think, but I guess when you're growing this fast, that's the case. So I've been there for about 6 months, so I'm still a newbie, learning a lot. Last company was IBM, second tour. So I was strategic hire from AWS, where I was there for 4 years, also leading some go-to-market initiatives. Prior to that, I was at Salesforce, And so all the way back to the early 2000s, I've been in go-to-market roles. Early on, I was managing part of the Cisco system, strategic partnership for KPMG. At the time, that essentially Cisco was the NVIDIA of this era, or that era, building the web, essentially. And so I just saw an opportunity in go-to-market partnerships early on and just kept doing it. So I've been a part of 5 exits. I've been a part of a few failed startups, a few of which I started myself and learned a lot from. Born and raised in the Bay Area, actually co-founded the DVTI organization that was referenced earlier, and that just came out of the concept of why are we all commuting 1.5, 2 hours a day? That doesn't seem like good use of anyone's time. So how do we bring jobs and more startups closer to home so that we can be closer to our family and be more efficient with our time? So pleasure to be here and look forward to sharing any wisdom and experiences I have.
Thank you. Rob?
Hi, I'm Rob Moyer. I feel a little awkward because I'm from the peninsula.
Boo.
So.
Just kidding.
Rob actually is the first one I reached out for the go-to-market user group, and he was like, it's about East Bay. Why are you calling me?
Yeah, exactly, because somebody's got to sell something. So anyways, I much like everybody here, I've had I'll date myself by saying my earliest kind of startup were 2 big companies, Ingram Micro and Siebel. But I spent some time at Microsoft a long time ago. Most recently, I ended my corporate career at Gong, where I got partnerships off the ground. My thesis is very simple. I have a small agency. No company's ever scaled to $1 billion without partnerships. And I've seen this play many times, and I'll die on that hill. The second thing is I want to bring this word up because I just was listening to everything, and I've been around the block, but don't be afraid of profits. The best exits are people that are making money, and for the 1% that crush it with their big exits, there's a lot of people making a lot of money as founders, creating value and driving profits. I do a lot of work with private equity, and a lot of what we work on is, that hope and fear. You either have to create value or you have to create efficiencies. And my advice as I talk to a lot of founders is, while you might go for it on the big exit, there's a lot of people that have very profitable businesses that they started as founders, and profits is not a bad word.
Terrific. So we're going to go through, as I said, in sort of 4 Ps. But one of the things as we're discussing to prepare for this panel, and I think Tamar, brought up, he said, we don't have all the answers. So I think I want to use that as a context. I think it's going to be more of a discussion what's going on at the moment than trying to lay out a blueprint or a roadmap, as people call it, exactly what every founder has to do to get to the other side of multi-million dollars of revenue, right? So I kind of wanted to set that at the context. But speaking of money, speaking of profit, Alyssa's company raised a boatload of money. And of course, investors don't invest unless they have some level of understanding what the product market fit is. And you have some amazing customers, Rampant, et cetera. You walked in right after Series A. So walk us through a little bit, as much as you can reveal, both from company side as well as investor side. How did the product market fit look like? How did you decide? What was those discussions like, purely from go-to-market, but from a product market fit wise?
Yeah, so as Sagar just said, I joined Actively AI about 8 months ago. I probably kicked off the interview process about a year ago now, just right after they raised their Series A. And I come from a product marketing background. That's my core competency, where I spent the majority of my career. And so I'm just laser focused and obsessed when I'm evaluating companies. What is the product market fit? Who is it for? What problems is it solving? And what makes them special, unique, and different? And so I was really keen to get into the AI space. Like I mentioned, I'd been in B2B SaaS for all of my career, and so I really wanted to vet this company through the lens there. And what really stood out to me about Actively, and I think what positions a lot of these like next-gen startups for success, is that we have 2 co-founders. incredibly smart, former AI researchers at Stanford. They just have huge, huge brains. But more importantly, they're humble enough to know when they don't know the answers to questions, and when they knew that they had a kernel of an idea of how AI, agentic AI was going to evolve. They could see where the market was going, they could see where the puck was going, and they wanted to skate to it. They went out and looked for the domain, the vertical, the actual role that was going to be best served by this technology. And so they went out and looked for people who were different from them. They talked to people in finance, they talked to people in marketing, they talked to people in sales, which is ultimately where they landed. And they sought out to deeply understand what it is their day-to-day looks like, and help apply what they knew about the technology and layer it into their day-to-day. So I give you that huge preamble because I think that deep customer empathy, knowing what you know and marrying it with what you don't know, and going out and seeking to understand. And like I said, they're engineers by trade, but they know how salespeople work better than some of the best salespeople I've ever worked with. They deeply understand the problem space, and as a result, very early on, we're able to identify with a technology that has endless amount of use cases, what are the core 2 to 3 use cases this technology could solve for right now and drive appreciable impact in the business? And they went laser focused on those use cases. And then more importantly, while they were doing that, they weren't just spraying and praying into organizations that they knew were a good fit now, but maybe wouldn't be a good fit later. They were looking for the people who are fit now, but as they kind of talked about the vision, they could see their eyes light up too. They were looking for people who could see the future the same exact way. They could also see where the puck was going. And so we call those people our lighthouse customers. Samsara, Ramp, Ironclad in our context. Companies that are very AI forward, especially in the go-to-market context, who are willing to build with us and not just expect us to be a custom services shop, and be able to kind of work together towards this like shared vision that we have. And then as you kind of get those lighthouse customers, that begets more attention, more people who are like, oh, wait, Samsara, like they've got it figured out in the AI space. How do I be more like Samsara? And they're gonna naturally be advocates for us. And so that flywheel starts to compound over time. And they were doing all of this with no marketing. I'm the first marketing hire 8 months in. And they were growing at an incredible rate off of all outbound sales, founder networks, and community, which is why this is so important. And so I really felt like coming in, I can only add to that by then layering in some more traditional marketing channels. So I guess it's like, to sum it up, conviction in the vision and the technology, deep empathy for the customer, and then building with, not building for, especially in these early days.
So I want to build on that a little bit, and I'll come to Tamer. So, we're all using the app Luma, right? And I knew the founder through some other connections, and we were using it on our own business. And I reached out to the founder because their API were not syncing with HubSpot. And I said, hey, can you give us these 6 other things? And he said, let me think about it. Next day, he said, yeah, I can do that. It'll cost $100,000. Of course, we're not going to spend $100,000 for a $69 app. And that was his way of saying no, because he didn't want the roadmap to get pulled into a professional services direction, the point that you just said, right? So, Tamer, you work with a whole bunch of ISVs. How do you sort of see, from a founder's lens perspective or from your lens perspective, who can, because it's very difficult when you're early, cash is cocaine. You're chasing that deal, the next deal, then the one after. And how do you know, you're picking the right pathway? Do you see a trend? Do you see a pattern among the ISVs that you work with?
Yeah, NVIDIA has a pretty large inception program with over 40,000 startups in that program. Like many of you engineers in the room, it's not the technology that's the challenge. It's shifting from building an app or building a product to building a business. And that's a big shift. I think the challenge that startups have and founders have, especially engineering founders, is the challenge stems from fear, whether it is the fear of saying no to revenue or the fear of saying no to a feature. That fear, because you just want that revenue or you want to please some of your customers, that can take you down a rat hole. So if you find yourself that you've got, if you look at your backlog and you see that all your requirements are coming from 1 or 2 customers, that's probably a problem. You may be trying too much to satisfy one customer, but that doesn't represent your total addressable market, right? You may find yourself, by doing that, you'll become a service company, right? And so I think it's very important to really look at your current backlog of what you're building. Think about who you're building it for. Are you just saying yes because they're the loudest customer that you're working with, but it's really only 1 or 2 customers and you're just continuously customizing? Or are you building a bunch of features because, you know, you're just listening to what, again, 1 or 2 customers are asking for? So be mindful of what your real total addressable market is, and don't overbuild for any one particular loud customer.
Thank you. So Rob, you and I talk about ecosystem all the time. So kind of dialing back a little bit, in your early days when you worked with companies that sold direct, I'm going to use an analogy, you know, sort of a burgers and fries analogy, right? Assuming you figured out your product market fit, but you realize you're more of a fries than the burger, you have to figure out who you attach to, right? So people talk a lot about product-led growth, but very few people talk about ecosystem-led growth. So when you're designing your business model right up front, so as you work with many, many startups, what is the way a founder, when he or she is thinking through a go-to-market motion, to figure out, first of all, the burger or the fries, and second of all, who do you have to attach to, and how do you sell through versus sell direct? Can you walk through the mechanics of that thinking, how that sort of goes?
Yeah, first of all, what Alyssa and Tamara said are spot on. It's start with the customer. The mental model I like to talk to founders about is, a lot of engineers are in here. Engineering is about math. Go-to-market is about probability. And so that's the mental shift you have to have. And then when you take it and you go from the customer and the problem you're solving, you want to go directly after the buyer persona. It's not just the ICP, it's the actual buyer. And then that tech stack is like the probability. So whenever I work with customers or tech companies, I'll go, okay, you know your lane. Who do you have to attach to? If you think about why NVIDIA's so popular, why Anthropic's so popular, they all created integrations with other companies. Gong, one of our secret sauces early on, no one realized we had 250 integrations before we had $100 million in revenue. And because we understood that our buyer is probably using HubSpot, Salesforce, or Dynamics, and there's a whole line of them, we went and integrated well, created a great customer experience, then that probability came in. Who are the buyers that buy both or work with both? And we built our whole partner organization around the notion of our ICP, our buyer persona, and the probability of the tech stack they would be using. And that's how we built out our go-to-market. Does that make sense?
That's great. So let's stay with you for a moment. Let's go back to the Gong example. You know, when you're a startup in the early stage and you're selling, let's say, a sales productivity tool, it's kind of abstract, right? Because you can't, or maybe you can. How do you take like a 2 seats discussion to a 200 seats discussion? How do you go convince the CEO or rather CFO that they have to make, you know, these transactions in a large volume for a company that they haven't heard of? Like, what is that process?
There's a couple things. You know, I always look at the productivity gains or losses. We were talking about this on, you know, everything's getting outcome-based pricing. And my biggest sale strategy when I was at Gong and today as a little entrepreneur is I'd go, you're going to spend $200,000 on a sales rep, and you're not going to spend $2,000 to make that sales rep exceptional with Gong. And people just stop and go, okay, that's a different mental mindset. I do the same thing for myself. I'm a small company. And, you know, I typically work with companies that they make these hires of $500,000 to $750,000 executive. And I go, I'm a $50,000 insurance policy. I don't even really talk about exactly what I do, other than I can do anything they want within the realm of go-to-market. So I think all these models around getting the math right and going to the executives going, we're going to help you solve your problem. We're going to be economical about it, but you don't get into the price war because you're talking about, here's your total spend on this problem. I'm just a portion of it. And I think it works really well for startups because my first 2 partners at Gong that were 7-figure partners were actually companies that were less than $20 million. And it's because they solved a problem in our ICP, and we thought we'd rather work with them and get to the enterprise than go with a, sorry if there's a Salesforce person in the room, but that was an expensive proposition, and these small companies solve specific problems. So my advice is really getting back to the theme we're all talking about. Even in your pricing, talk about the big concept. Talk about the problem you solve and the spend you have on that problem. And then when you start going, hey, I'm 1% of that spend, it's an easier sell.
So in that Gong scenario, right, the economic value or the impact on the salesperson was tangible. He or she saw the ability to close more deals. So it was bottoms up. So I'm going to kind of turn that around and go to, maybe skip for a minute, go to Alyssa. Today when we think about AI solutions, 82% Americans don't trust AI because they think it's going to take their jobs away. So as a marketer, how do you communicate to a customer to adopt something? Unlike Rob's scenario, where it's like, I go do this, I adopt this tool, I sell 3 more deals, I make more money. Versus in case of AI, I go adopt the AI, and maybe I get laid off 3 months later. So how do you market?
Yeah, it's interesting because those productivity metrics now that Rob was just talking about on the human side are now shifting to the agent side. A lot of executives at the enterprise organizations, and we kind of ascribe to this belief as well. It's something we put in market, which is that the earnings report of the future is going to have revenue that was driven by humans, and there's going to be revenue that's driven by agents. And so incrementally, as agents take on more and more work inside of a sales cycle, and they're going to take on more of that work, the obvious conclusion that a lot of people are coming to, and it's fair to say, is that we can do more with fewer humans. And our pricing model does go more towards on an outcome based on how much revenue, how many revenue generating activities is an agent doing. But it's still squarely within the context of, but then what does that free up your human reps, your salespeople, your SDRs, your customer success managers? What does that free them up to be able to do more of? And so instead of saying, there is the less is more argument to be made, and our pricing models reflect that, but there's another way to position it. Again, I'm a product marketer, so I'm thinking about how do I position this. There's also the more with more story. And I think to make this tangible, about, 18 months ago, those who were in San Francisco or all over the Bay Area really saw all the billboards that said, fire your SDRs. Don't hire any more human SDRs. We've figured this out. AI SDRs are the future. And companies started doing that. But now if you go look at careers pages today at a lot of companies, people are hiring SDRs again because, surprise, the AI SDRs weren't great. Or they're great, but only in a certain context, right? You still need a human to do things, right? To build relationships, to kind of provide that quality gate. And so I'll use an example of one of our customers, Ramp. Ramp is another one of our customers. They've grown like their user base by like 50,000 within the span of I think a couple of years. They're on a rocket ship. And they're a big actively user. They have agents doing a lot of work inside of their revenue cycle. They're hiring across every single role in revenue. And they're not stopping. There is the more with more position in your pricing when it comes to AI. Because if the idea is in the old paradigm, for every dollar you put into revenue, you can expect to get 4 out. If agents can double that and say you put $1 in, you can get 8 out, imagine you have an uncapped revenue potential that if you continue to add in agents, but then you have more human reps doing a lot of that human work and they're doing those highest leverage tasks, you're also going to be able to accelerate your revenue. So I kind of went on a tangent there, but I guess yes, outcome-based pricing, I think it's still the same in the world of AI, but it's really about being able to delineate what are the tasks that AI is best suited to do. And there's a lot of now proof out there. There's a lot more proof about what AI is good at, what AI is not good at. and how do you hone your pricing in on those outcomes, and then also attach it to what that opens up for humans, if that makes sense.
I wanted to add something to this because I have a story of the human in the loop. So one of the things that we saw at Gong, and it's a great stat, it was a hidden stat, but we looked at everything. And in the world of everybody's using AI, we used AI to understand this. Like, there's a stat that when your economic buyer started turning off their camera on calls, your win rates started going down. And it just tells you the power of, in this world we're all rushing to use AI, there's a portion that you got to use AI to look at the facts that humans still are the economic buyer, and there's actions they do that will create a bad effect. One is going off camera. They tend to give you a no on email, not on video. So it's like you use AI to your benefit, and it gets back to my stat of like having a salesperson with AI is going to be a lot better than just jumping ship and just going to all AI. So that was my favorite little thing. And the last one was if your customer curses before you do on a call, your win rates shoot up. And I think that was my favorite stat at Gong the whole time, and it was true. We kept running the test to make sure it was true, and it was true.
So we're going to come back to Tamer. I'm going to skip the sort of the pricing and jump into placement to kind of stay on time. So when you look at your ISV sort of ecosystem, you have a broad spectrum of people, physical AI to sort of digital AI. Do you see clusters of ISVs? Is there a way to figure out the propensity to go either direct or go through a partner-led mode? Do you see any patterns there across the set of ISV that you work with?
When you say direct versus, can you elaborate?
Alyssa's team mostly sells direct to the customer versus the scenarios that partner-led motion that Rob was talking about. When you look at physical versus digital from your ISV ecosystem, do you see one group behaves differently from the other, how they reaches the customer?
I think they all have a mixed model. Folks in this room probably don't know, but NVIDIA doesn't sell anything. Does that sound weird? We don't sell anything. We sell through business partners, right? Whether it is an ISV, like one of my strategic ISV partners, Elastic, or Snowflake, or Palantir, we integrate our products through our libraries and our blueprints into their stack, which makes them a more compelling product for us to get behind. Gone are the days when a Barney Alliance, where you just put your logo on a slide and you're off to the races, that doesn't drive real tangible leads. That's not going to go anywhere. No one cares. It's a waste of your time. You want a meaningful relationship, whether you're actually embedding their technology into your product, it's improving your product, and as a result, you get a whole sales force that has a relationship with the accounts that you want to get into behind you. So although we're not necessarily selling the product or co-selling as most people think of it, but we are backing you, because if your product succeeds and it addresses a specific use case of a customer in a profound way, which if you've seen Jensen on stage, he talks about the innovations that we're powering with our GPUs. That's because we can't do it without all of our business partners. We can't do it without all of you. But it starts with you understanding that you have to integrate your products with ours, power your products, accelerate your products with NVIDIA's products, and it's you who's going to ultimately sell it, either direct or with another business partner, a reseller, a GSI or an SI that's going to provide services around your products. But it starts with looking at the ecosystem you want to be a part of, provide some meaningful integration, do the work up front. In the case of Elastic that I mentioned, by integrating our QVS library, our vector search library, they were able to increase their vector indexing by 12x and bring down the cost economics of providing their product. So you're getting a lower cost product, you're selling GPUs, which we like, while at the same time, you're accelerating your product and addressing more use cases that you couldn't have otherwise. And that's why when you saw Jensen up on stage giving his keynote at GTC, the biggest AI event in the world, They were on 2 of the slides. Wow. Imagine if you were on one of those slides. Have you seen what happens with announcements like Nokia and what that stock's done since GTC in March? It's gone up, what, probably over 100%. It's not just because we threw their name up, it's because we're actually doing something tangible, integrating our products with theirs. So when you think about partnerships, yes, you have to go direct often. That's part of your model, and that's how you're proving yourself as your own entity. But at the same time, you want to integrate into the ecosystems through your product, through the engineering that you do, so that you now have a meaningful relationship, and then you get the weight and the support of that ecosystem large player behind you.
So when I hear you, from NVIDIA perspective, it sell through or sell with is a big velocity versus sell direct. In case of Alyssa, you go direct, you sell directly to the customer, but you also have Salesforce and others at partners, right? How does that look like?
We took a little bit of a different approach. So I think to Tamer's point about like showing the value in the places where customers already are, Actively as a product did not have a UI until about 6 months ago. We were a completely headless solution, which means we didn't have any sort of UI that people log into. Instead, our agents would surface their intelligence, their recommendations in Salesforce, in Slack, anywhere really you want. We decided to do like an API first type of product because our hypothesis was that, again, if we have deep empathy for our users, we know that salespeople don't like logging into other tools. Sorry, I know they love Gong too, but but they're done.
Because they didn't have to log into CRM.
That's right. So I wouldn't say Salesforce is a partner. Salesforce, in the sense that we have a named partnership with them, but we do understand the power of, to be frank, riding the coattails of other tools that we know are already very popular in the space. Now, to be very frank, we also consider ourselves a Trojan horse because we announced our Series B a couple weeks ago, and the big hook that we had to the press is that we actually believe that the CRM as we know it today will be dead in the next 3 to 5 years. And so we kind of did the we're coming for you Salesforce type of angle. We still love Salesforce. So we try to take, I think in our space it pays to have that controversial angle to try and stand out and be different. And so for us, we continue to be very bullish on direct. In our context, we're very small, still like less than 10 million in revenue. And so we need to go out and earn the right, build the category to start kind of driving towards those conversations of an ecosystem and partnership. But I think what's interesting for us, actually, this has been a really big discussion. I mean, it's crazy, in the AI startup world, we think in terms of like weeks and days, not months and years. And literally in the past like 6 weeks, this whole concept of tokenomics has started coming up. Has anyone been reading about tokenomics? Right, because now that Claude and ChatGPT and all these other tools are so powerful, really, when we come up in competitive conversations, the biggest competitor we have is I can build this myself. I can go vibe code this, I'm pretty sure. I have all the data, I have all the context as the prospect, as the company, so I just need to build some agents. And so what we've gone out is we've invested in enterprise Claude, we've invested in enterprise ChatGPT, and we're just gonna like get our sales reps to be prompt warriors, and they're gonna be able to do something like this. And they've invested a lot in tokens as a result. And so what we have to shift in our perspective in terms of like still going to direct is we're starting to think about how do we position ourselves vis-a-vis the big players in the space in terms of, hey, we can help you. You bought all those tokens, you're looking to figure out how to use them. We can help you use your tokens, right? We can build with you. I think there was build through or build with. We're not a build versus buy, we're a build versus build with. How quickly can you accelerate your roadmap and get your reps away from prompting LLMs to try and get their way to an outcome versus unlocking new use cases for them. And so that's how we're kind of thinking about it. Obviously, we're a lot earlier in our journey than these two. But we have to be very strategic in the way we make these decisions because again, like I'm talking about this now, 6 weeks from now, we could be talking about something totally different in the world that I operate in.
So let's take the thread on build with and let's go to sort of Tamar about sort of market with or co-marketing. In the ISV ecosystem, that's a big play, right? Alliance marketing, partner marketing going through. So are you seeing in this age of AI, Traditionally, it has been Intel Inside Puzzle is the biggest, example in the industry that started. But what kind of innovative motions are you seeing that didn't exist before, or just amplified that did exist before?
I think the Intel Inside is the model. It worked out, right? And we're kind of doing the NVIDIA Inside to some extent, my observation. And gone are the days when a partnership is, as I referred to earlier, the logo on a slide, a webinar, a joint webinar. Let's go do a joint webinar, right? Like, that's just gone. Just forget about that. Integrate your product. Back to what I said before. If your product is, if you're integrating with your partner's products, now you have a meaningful relationship to talk about. If you have a customer that gets on stage and talks about how they're using both of your products, now you have a success story, and you can amplify that and go after the next 10 customers together. And the sales rep at your business partner is going to care to talk about your product because they know that it's going to drag their product. In the case of Elastic, I mentioned one of my business partners, they've integrated a library which is powered by GPUs. Our reps know that. So if you ask for an NVIDIA rep or a Salesforce rep or an AWS rep to participate in the sales cycle that you are running, they're going to be more than willing to, because they know that ultimately they're going to be paid on what you're driving. And then from a marketing perspective, if you're doing a webinar, you're going to talk about a use case and you're bringing in a joint customer, they're going to be more than happy to participate. But if you just want to get up and talk about, hey, we got this partnership, I'm an advanced tier, and we plan to do some cool stuff together, that's a waste of your time. It's a waste of their time, and they're probably not going to be replying to your emails or your text messages all that quickly.
So from a co-marketing perspective, I know, Rob, you talk a lot about outcome-based marketing. It's not you're just giving a partner to go market some of your stuff, but you also want to measure. A lot of it, has been kind of abstract in the partner marketing space because you just couldn't measure. Are you seeing there are things that are changing? Can you talk a little bit about what you're seeing in the client space when it comes to co-marketing and measurement?
Yeah, I mean, I think I look at the parallels of direct and indirect is really you're trying to create a trust network. Early on, a couple years ago, I was using the 6th Sense, Mad Kudu, they got bought, Demandbase, G2. And whenever we did an outbound or we went after a customer, we knew immediately when they touched something that we put out there, whether it be on LinkedIn, whether it be in articles. I think the same thing for partners. It's like, how do you cast a net and then capture the signal for your inbound? Because ultimately, your buyers are so much more sophisticated now. By the time they call your rep, they have a good idea of what your strengths or weaknesses are. And so that's why you have to, your whole strategy has to be around trust. Whether it's with partners, whether it's the content you put out, you're building trust with your potential buyer. And then you're using all these tools, whether it's your partner or these signal tools, to validate, and then you time your outbound based on it. So for example, one of the things I do with my clients is we might do a webinar with a partner because they have an ICP we really want. We'll immediately, anybody that responded, we'll do a LinkedIn campaign on those buyers who went to the webinar, and we'd go see if they've touched it. And if we start seeing 2 or more signals, we just start bombarding them. And it works because ultimately you're looking for signals, and you just got to build a system that's sophisticated to know when it's a good signal and when it's a bad signal.
Yeah, I'll add to that, back to the conversation about direct versus indirect. Many of the people in the room might not know that the cost of acquiring a new customer is somewhere between 5 to 25 times the cost of selling to an existing customer, right? And then as an established business, 80% of your business is coming from 20% of your customers. So then when you think about that, obviously you want to land your first beachhead customer, build on that, replicate, scale, and then from a partner perspective, if they have that established customer, they have that established trust, they've already absorbed that cost. And if your product is integrated, back to what we were talking about before, they'll be happy to bring you into that, and your cost of sale has gone down dramatically.
Yeah, I want to add to one thing that I didn't follow on. When I market and when I talk to my clients, I always think of it as your sales cycle is top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. It's same with partners. Certain partners are great at partner source. Certain partners drive velocity, whether it's tech integration or a services partner. And then the bottom of the funnel is really around the service retention and upsell. When you market, you have to think the same way. When you are a founder and you're starting up, you have to think the same way. I'm a small business. You know, I started, so God knows, I started my business on October 1st. I'm on my verge of doing my 100th invoice, and I haven't done outbound yet. I've built an inbound system through private equity, through my LinkedIn, but everything I do is based on signals. And then I go out and cast a net for my ICP, and then I use signals to bring them in. Don't have to outbound. So everything I'm talking about on partnerships, I believe as an entrepreneur because I had to do it from day one.
So I have one last question for Tamara, and then we'll open it up for a few questions, and we'll go to the next topic. So Tamara, I want to go more to trends. And I think somebody brought up previously, 5 years ago when you're starting up, hardware, software didn't matter. You had to raise a lot of money to build a product. Then you hired a VP of marketing, someone like Alyssa, right? Because you had to get to a Series A to get to someone like her. Today, the building costs are dropping substantially, even in the hardware space, right? Because you can prototype, very, very efficiently. Are you seeing trend in your ISV ecosystem that founders are going to more of a full stack approach? They're not just saying, I'll build fast, I'll skimp on marketing in the beginning. Or are you seeing there's a trend change that, they're realizing they should raise early, invest early more in go-to-market, think through partner ecosystem, because cost to build has dropped substantially? Are you seeing any of those trends, or are we still sort of where we used to be?
I don't work directly with that many startups, despite us having this Inception program that I'm learning more and more about. But just based on my observation, I'm seeing startups being very savvy at integrating into large ecosystem player products early on and being relevant to that ecosystem leader that they're partnering with, and that becomes a force multiplier for them to grow quickly.
Okay, thank you. And we're going to spend on this topic, with Jason on July 23rd, because he's seeing a lot of deals come in. Of course, when people ask for investment, they have to tell the VCs or investors how are they going to spend money. So from a historical perspective, it would be a great conversation then to look at what the patterns are. But to stay kind of on time, I know we also ran over here. Any questions that you have for the panelists? We'll take a couple of questions. Yes.
Hello, I heard CRM is going to be dead in 3 years. I just want to...
You heard it here first.
I just want to understand what's the roadmap, what's the next thing? Is it same with the SaaS?
Yeah, SaaS is dead. That was said earlier as well. We're prognosticating all over the place. Yeah, I think at the heart of, specifically within CRM, I think where I see the trend moving, having been in this space now for almost a year, is that as agents become better at, first of all, agents are getting better at doing work, right? You think about in terms of tooling, SaaS tooling, there's systems of record and then there's systems of action, right? Agents are getting really good at doing work. So systems of action are probably going to be the first domino to fall. I don't know if anyone's familiar with tools like Outreach, an email tool, things of that nature. If an agent gets really, really good at sequencing out emails, why do you need an email sequencer if you just give the agent your Gmail, right? So we believe that systems of action go first. Systems of record, like CRM, we just think they're going to look very different. We think that a gigantic Rolodex like Salesforce, where the data is always not correct because it relies on a human to go in and update, or some automation to go in and update. Right now, agents are actually going in and doing a lot of work updating fields in Salesforce. But agents are getting really good at being persistent. Agents don't just instantiate and then run and then die off anymore. You can run agents in perpetuity now at scale. And so if an agent can hold memory on an account or in a set of accounts, why do you need a CRM? Why do you need a digital Rolodex like Salesforce? So these are the thought experiments that we go through. And again, part of this is it's marketing. We want to, there's this concept of the levered beta. Where you have a spicy take, where you take a contrarian view, where you try and put that out into the market because you have high conviction, you believe that's where that's going. And if it pays off for you, then you have that brand equity you've already built into it, that you're the company that helped kill Salesforce. And so we believe in that actively, and so as a marketing perspective, that's gold for me because it's something to hang our hat on and go to market with, yeah.
I do want to go on record that SaaS isn't dead. Oracle will be around long after all our careers. And I'll die on this hill. I work with enterprise customers. They're consolidating like crazy, but there's too much governance, there's too much security, there's too much of a lot of things. So I would say the best companies are going to work with SaaS, not replace it. Maybe in 20 years. Remember 2000 when everybody said cloud's going to kill everything? Cloud's pretty strong still.
Thank you, Rob. One last question, and then we have to wrap. Yes.
Pretty good talk. Thank you, everyone. My question is, I think you mentioned instead of finding a new customer versus selling to the existing customer, which is like 5 to 25 times more expensive, which I like it. My question is, being a founder with some of the early customers we have, how do we really differentiate adding one more feature from our backlog to the product versus kind of classifying that as an upsell opportunity? I mean, we do found on a number of times that, okay, this can be really good upselling to the same existing customer, but at what point do we decide this feature or this particular sort of new value what we can add can be an upselling opportunity versus one more powerful platform to increase the stickiness?
Are you referring to your existing customer base, whether or not you should build something for them? I think there's a nuance in what I was saying earlier it's just to be careful not to build around one or two large customers who are just the loudest, most demanding. I accidentally did that with Oracle. It hurt. It's important to also find the persona, like who's your most active user, and nail that persona down and shadow them and listen to them and understand them, and then find 50 more of them, right? And there's your beachhead. So if you're building a feature, just make sure it's not just for one customer, but it's applicable to your primary beachhead persona and initial set of customers, so you're not going too far horizontal and, drowning yourself out.
So let's say if it is can be applicable to more customers, even then, can we still add it as a feature for the existing customer?
Absolutely. Yeah, you could prove its viability with an existing customer and then roll it out to the others. So leverage that first customer to prove its capabilities, come up with, hey, it cut costs or it improved efficiency or whatever, and then you have that next set that you just roll it out to following that.
And I think that's where, if I can cut in, having like these like lighthouse customers or beachhead customers is really valuable. These people who they see the world similarly as you do in terms of the vision, is that like you don't have to deliver a perfectly formed, perfectly baked product or feature to them because you're building with them. And so like you don't have to invest a lot of resources and time building something that's all pretty and shiny. And instead, if they're actually co-building with you, you can give them an MVP and have them help shape what that product looks like. Or they can say, nope, yeah, I don't like it, it's not useful. And then you can kill it without having sunk a whole bunch of resources, cost, yeah.
I was just going to say, no matter what, it comes down to will they use it. You can extend all you want. The biggest problem most software and SaaS and startups have, they buy at a point in time, you add all these features, but they still just use your core product. Everybody has that problem.
It's hard to say no. You know?
And you know, a lot of these topics came up in Rob's last go-to-market session or user group, so I know we can keep on going here. My request would be, if you're interested, please join that WhatsApp link that we shared. Rob has a session June 24th, I think, or something like that, 24th or 5th. It's in our office. We can hold about 40 people. Please come, and then we'll dig deep into this. But with that, thank you very much for being here, and we're going to move into the next topic. Yes, take a picture. Right. Thank you. We're gonna move to the last and another exciting topic, which is about the launch of the app. But to do that, I need to switch the slides, and it'll take me a minute. John and Ray, are you guys gonna come up? And Maria, let me go there. What happened to the... It's working, Christina, it's working, right? Okay, we're going to zoom through this quickly. We decided to build an app predominantly because as we're getting together in main events like this or in the user group, there are a lot of threads and conversation that we cannot finish, and we want to continue. So there are 3 people that have been incredible volunteers and spending hours on this, which none of us expected that they do because they have their day job. John Innes, who's kind of leading the team, and Ray and Maria. You can sit there. Ray and Maria. So I'm going to kind of quickly go through what we are trying to do there, and then I'm going to have John and Ray kind of deep dive, and Ray will also show a quick demo. So right now we have about 900 members with almost 0 marketing. And the only thing we do is post in LinkedIn and word of mouth like this go out, and this number keeps on growing. Roughly we're adding about 100 members a month. We started in September, and it's growing in that way. And about, as I said, 60% of this group are founders, and about 1/3 of them are C-level. So what we're trying to do is focus on that first stage of the journey that we talked about earlier. And a lot of these issues that we want to address and want to curate these conversations around product market fit. How do you go to market? The early stage problem before you worry about scale, right? And JC has run some amazing hackathons, through AI Collective and groups. And when I go to those events, you can see their cohorts, they're struggling with the same set of issues. And as building gets easier, go-to-market doesn't get easier. It possibly gets harder, right? Because there's so much noise, so much slop, so much things you can create. So what we are trying to do is really curate these user groups, curate these conversations that continue, and really help the founder. And to do that, we decided to kind of build this app. It was a pretty audacious goal, but we've been amazed to see how John, Ray, and Maria, they have sort of jumped in. And I'm going to give John to kind of talk about this. And I'll go back in driving the slides.
Right?
Yeah. All right. Forward, backward. All right.
So again, the initial when I got involved was just to be running this community for product, and then all of a sudden they were like, hey, we want to build an app. And of course, if you volunteer, you kind of have to sign up for things. So today on the app, we're trying to like model the key things that we think are going to be important for the community to do while they're offline. Obviously, the events like this in person are the core of the community, but enable to store and basically create an online community other than just a LinkedIn or a WhatsApp. We realize there's things about founding, mentoring, investing, and sponsor that you could do online that would be useful without having to come to a community in person, or at least a follow-up, right? So as part of that, the user groups are all going to have their community. We're going to do a demo in a moment to show you what this looks like. But the user groups are all going to have a community that you can do. If you join a community and a user group, then each one of these groups will have a post, like a bulletin board system, a way to post playbooks, get mentorship, all those functionalities that you want to do that are a little harder to do without an online system. So the user groups will all be represented by the people. There's moderators, so you're not going to get spam like you would on LinkedIn or something like that. And that's the key. If it makes you happy, glad to hear that. And we're basically using an AI approach. So we are essentially, and this is actually going to things that we're going to talk about in the product community as well. We had our first product panel back in March where we talked about using different approaches for AI for building product. And so the community, the user group that I'm focusing on is building product. And we're going to cover everything from discovery, talking to customers, how to translate that into things that you would prototype in your tool like Lovable. The purpose of a thing like Lovable versus what happens if you build a Lovable and then you want to turn it into a product. What if you want to merge your Lovable into an actual product and maybe it's not the same as the product you have and there's infrastructure, all the headaches that you're going to run into if you're using AI. That includes some of the topics here, patterns for using these tools, when to use specs versus vibe, what happens if you chat your requirements and then 6 months later you realize it was a requirement and it's gone, it's not captured anywhere. What are the documentation of the features? If the vibe coded tool has something that no one knows about and no one discovers until months later. And then you go to deploy that and you realize, we have to log in everything through Lovable or whatever platform your AI tool is. You want to move it to AWS. Problem. About token management, about logging, infrastructure, security, all the things that real products have to do. Legal issues like EULAs, analytics, tracking, logging. And finally, how to make sure that what you prototyped out is actually used by anybody. Like the former panelist said, if nobody's using it, it's not a product. So design elements, which is something I'm very passionate about, and developing trust, because if anybody can vibe a product up, or at least something like a product, what makes the difference is the execution in terms of the user experience and the customer value, right? So with that note, pass it to Rhea about what we've been up to in our effort to build this app.
Hello, everyone. Well, I'll sit down and chat about how we're building the app and what we'll bring to you tonight. But I know it's late, so feel free to relax. And I'm not delivering your presentation. I want it to be a conversation. So as this team, we sit down for the first time to talk about the app idea. I think we're very clear on one thing, that we don't want to just vibe coding another app. We want to build the trust infrastructure for the community with the very people in this room tonight, our founders, our investors, and our domain experts. So our events like this are instrumental to bring us together, but I think we all feel that event high where you meet someone incredible, yet to let a conversation fade by Monday. So we want this app to really serve as the connective tissue and extension to our events, and that can make sure the conversations are carried along and expand into the lasting local resources that can help us build faster and build smarter. And I laugh a lot while John was talking, because as this team built this app, we have been experiencing every single thing he just listed out. This is a great learning experience for us too. No one had mastered how to build a tool in the AI era. So I think if you want to come join us and learn how to build it in the right way, this is the right team for you right here. So we all understand when you build digital ecosystems or build a digital community, that can sometimes become an echo chamber where insights got lost in all those chats, and you don't really have a meaningful, deep connection out of those tools. That is why we want to introduce the East Bay Founder Community Equity when we launch the app beta, because it's a give-first engine. We want to make sure you can get rewarded by your contribution, and those who bring the most value to our community also gets the best value back from the community to you. You can earn the points, earn the equity by showing up for others. Think about you can answering a question from a peer founder in our community. You can submit a playbook that summarizes your win in the past 6 months. You can also, did I hit something? Sorry. Uh-oh, back. Okay, Sugata, you will handle it. Yes, you can also contributing by offering a one-on-one mentor sessions for other peer founders, or simply showing up and support events like this. So by contributing, you earn equity, and you can turn that into valuable community member benefits that you care about and that truly make a business impact. You can think about a warm investor intro that at the right stage you need it. You can also think about a solid recommendation from the community for that co-founder you are looking for on the ground. You don't have to leave your local region. You stay here right in the East Bay. And you may also be able to find the right person, the domain experts you are looking for in the niche market. So at the end of the day, we don't want this to be just a few good point system. We want this to become the flywheel of the community engine. The other engine under the hood is really the precision matching. Later on, when you sign up, you'll realize we ask you questions, we want to understand about what you're building, because we want to capture the signal, we want to capture the data that can help us really build the foundation, and later on, we can use the AI-assisted matching algorithm, plus our community trust-based vetting to make sure we bring the right people to you at the right moment, and that can really bring the true business impact on what you are building on. Now, let's shift to the live environment, and I'll ask Sugata to help me bring up the site. I don't have a station to demo from there, but it will be projected on the big screen, so I can give you a very quick glance, of what the current beta looks like. So everything starts from onboarding. Remember, we talked about the data foundation. So later on, when you sign up into the app, you will find we ask targeted questions. We care about what you are building right now, what stage are you, what are your challenges, what are your needs at this moment, and what you can bring to the community and teach your fellow founders. So all that will become yes, all that will become the foundation for the precision matching. And when you log into the site, you will land on the My Hub, the personalized homepage. And from the top navbar here, you can have the full access to our member knowledge base. From here, you see our lovely user groups right here. You can sign up to join the group, and you can see how other members have been interacting, asking questions, and answering other founders' questions. When you come back to the knowledge base, back to the My Hub, you will never lose a network event opportunities just like tonight, because everything will be laid there for you right in the hub. We are also on the pipeline to really launch the mentor panel in the future releases. From there, we want to open up our mentor directory and really use our algorithm to recommend the right mentors, the trustworthy mentors that really can help you to scale your business. Lastly, I want to go back to the equity tab. This is your go-to place to keep on track on how many points you have earned into the community into the equity system based on your contribution. And you also get to understand by contributing to the community what you have unlocked when moving up to the next tier of your membership, so you get the true value out of the community. So now let's come back to the slides. So what you have seen tonight is really only the foundation layer. We really want to bring the the member directory to you as soon as we can, because we know you want to get to know each other in a deep and meaningful way. And we want to really use the app to help our members connecting to the user group that you're interested in and based on your expertise. And we'll begin to release community features in the future phases, all with the vision that we are trying to build a community OS all within this app. And on the roadmap, think about automated deal flow. Think about job board. I just heard about that request from some of the members. And we have a long list of the wish list of the features that our members requested, so we will evaluate the importance. Learning from the go-to-market panel just now, listen to what our users are talking about, what is truly meaningful for them. So all those will come and as we build this infrastructure for you guys. So with that, join today. Oh, so John was asking if I can go back to the equity tab and walk through the key benefits that you can get when you move up the membership tiers.
Let's do that quickly. I think everybody wants to go home.
Yeah, so the moment you're onboarded, you're at the Seedling tier. So this is the starting tier for our new members. You have access to the full member directory, and we're officially inviting all the members to join. You have the access to join all the user groups, all the leads you just met tonight. Also, you can view the community points. You can post in the group Q&A and discussion, join the forum. As you move down, when you become an active contributor, you have access to our full knowledge base with the dedicated playbooks, and you have unlocked the starting session on your mentor one-on-one. You also can appear in the priority list to the member matching. As we move down, I'm not going to go through all the details, but as you can see, the membership tier is really tied to the value, to what matters to our founders and other members in the ecosystem. So we want to use this to really bring the give to get engine and help the community to scale as one whole. So we have the eastbayfounders.net link on the last slide, but I really want to ask everyone to join today. Get involved, give us your feedback and input, and let's us scale the community all together. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. That is our last presentation today. The next one is, again, July 23rd. There are a bunch of user groups. Please come and join. This is completely grassroots, community-led effort, as you can tell. We will go as far as you want to go. That's our goal. But thank you again. Have a great night. Thanks for being here. All right.